The jungle was alive with sound, a symphony of unseen creatures whispering among the dense foliage, their calls echoing through the damp air. A mist clung to the ancient stone paths, twisting around the roots of massive ceiba trees, as if hiding the secrets beneath. Somewhere deep in the heart of this endless green, the Olmecs had once thrived, leaving behind colossal monuments and intricate carvings that seemed to watch silently, as though guarding something that no one was meant to uncover. And yet, it was here, amidst the shadows and the ever-present hum of life, that the legend of the blood seal had begun. The blood seal, even the name carried weight, as though it pulsed with a quiet, terrifying power. It was not a symbol for the curious, nor a token meant for scholars to analyze in the pale light of their libraries. This was something alive in memory, a secret that demanded reverence and fear in equal measure. Those who spoke of it whispered in low tones, careful not to let the wind carry the words too far. Its history was entangled with devotion, sacrifice, and the relentless will of the Olmec priests, who alone were entrusted to protect it. To touch it or even to glimpse it was said to be to risk everything. Their lives, their souls, perhaps even the balance of the world they knew. No one knew exactly what the blood seal looked like. Some believed it was a small object, a medallion or carved stone, imbued with a ritual power that defied understanding. Others insisted it was a document, a codex, inscribed with knowledge so profound that even the most learned minds could not comprehend it without falling into madness. Legends suggested it was forged in blood, sanctified through ceremonies that blurred the line between devotion and horror. And while the centuries had swallowed much of the Olmec's world, leaving only fragments of their cities and statues, the story of the blood seal endured, a pulse in the dark memory of the land. In the flickering torchlight of an imagined ritual chamber, one could almost see the priests moving in solemn procession. Their bodies painted with intricate patterns, their eyes dark with intent, they carried vessels filled with offerings. The air would have been thick with smoke and incense, the scent almost suffocating, masking the iron tang of blood. It was here that the first whispers of the seal's true nature emerge. Blood not as punishment, but as covenant, a medium through which the divine and the mortal could touch each other. Every drop shed was a promise, every gesture deliberate, every chant a binding spell. To outsiders, these rites might have seemed cruel or even senseless, but to the priests, it was the ultimate responsibility, the burden of guardianship passed down through generations. These were men and women trained from childhood to understand a truth that was larger than themselves. They were tasked not only with protection but with understanding. The consequences of failing their charge were unthinkable. It was said that the blood seal could grant visions of the unseen, that it could predict calamities and warn of betrayal before it struck. And yet, with such power came isolation, the profound loneliness of those who knew the price of knowledge and feared the moment they might be tempted beyond their limits. The jungle, relentless in its growth, had swallowed most of what the Olmecs built. Cities that once pulsed with life were now silent, their stone monuments overgrown, waterlogged, or buried entirely. Yet even in ruin, the aura of the blood seal persisted. Carvings on stele hinted at rituals too sacred for ordinary eyes. Colossal heads seemed almost alive in their stare, as if guarding some secret from centuries past. Every crack in the stone, every weathered line, told a story, though one that had been deliberately obscured by time and decay. Scholars could guess, explorers could imagine, but the true heart of the mystery remained out of reach, held in the memory of a vanished civilization. The first European chroniclers who stumbled upon the remnants of Olmec culture noted strange rituals, odd symbols, and practices that defied explanation. They wrote with a mixture of fascination and fear, describing ceremonies that involved offerings, intricate dances, and the spilling of blood, though they could never understand the deeper significance. These early accounts, fragmented and often sensationalized, hinted at a hidden truth, one that the priests had fought to preserve at all costs. Even then, there were rumors that those who attempted to steal the knowledge or desecrate the sacred objects met with misfortune. Tales of sudden deaths, vanished tribesmen, and unexplained disappearances became part of the fabric of the legend. And so, the blood seal remained, an enigma wrapped in devotion and terror. It was more than a relic. It was a living testament to the power of belief, to the lengths a civilization would go to safeguard its most precious secrets. As the sun pierced the thick canopy of the jungle, illuminating the moss-covered stones, one could almost feel the weight of history pressing down, a silent reminder that some mysteries were not meant to be solved lightly. The priests had vanished, the cities had crumbled, and yet, somehow, the seal endured in memory, in story, in the pulse of the land itself. It was here, in the quiet moments between the rustle of leaves and the distant call of unseen creatures, that the heart of the legend beat strongest. The blood seal was waiting, patient and unyielding, for those who dared to seek it. And those who did would find more than stone or blood. They would confront the echoes of human ambition, devotion, and the dark, unyielding desire to protect a secret that could change everything. The jungle was a living tapestry, a place where every sound, every shadow, seemed to whisper secrets of a world long vanished. Amid the dense greenery, the jaguar moved silently, its golden eyes glinting in the filtered sunlight. For the Olmecs, the jaguar was more than an animal. It was a symbol of power, a bridge between the human and the divine, a spirit that roamed both the earth and the unseen worlds beyond. The priest spoke of it in hushed tones, calling it the shadow that walks, a creature that embodied both ferocity and wisdom. It was the guardian of life and death, and the keeper of the secrets that men were not ready to comprehend. The Olmecs were a civilization of paradoxes. Their society, while deeply spiritual, was also profoundly practical. They built sprawling ceremonial centers, carved colossal stone heads, and developed a symbolic language that hinted at ideas far more complex than anyone could yet decode. And yet, beneath the grandeur, there was an undercurrent of mystery, a deliberate veil that separated the ordinary from the sacred. To touch the divine, one had to pass through layers of ritual, understanding, and fear. And at the center of it all stood the priests, the men and women who walked in the shadows, mediating between humans and gods, wielding knowledge that could shape destiny itself. The priesthood was no mere social role. It was a calling that demanded absolute devotion. Children were selected at a young age, their lives redirected toward a path of discipline and secrecy. They were taught the language of symbols, the patterns of the stars, and the sacred rhythms of the earth. In hidden chambers, they practiced rituals that outsiders would have called incomprehensible, involving offerings, chants, and the spilling of blood in ceremonies that connected them to forces beyond ordinary understanding. Every gesture, every word, was part of a carefully preserved tradition designed to maintain harmony between the mortal world and the unseen realm. Among the Olmecs, jaguar imagery was everywhere. It appeared on masks, thrones, and ceremonial garments, often blended with human features to signify a profound spiritual truth, that within every human could dwell the essence of the divine, if guided properly by ritual and knowledge. The priests, adorned in jaguar pelts and intricate face paint, became living symbols of this union. Their movements during ceremonies were precise and deliberate, designed to channel spiritual energy, to honor ancestors, and to protect sacred objects. Most importantly, the blood seal. To witness such a ritual was to step into a liminal space, where reality and myth blurred, and where the heartbeat of the jungle seemed to synchronize with the rhythm of the human soul. But power always breeds fear. The priests, despite their sacred role, lived under the weight of immense responsibility. They were the custodians of knowledge that could destabilize kingdoms if misused, and they knew that betrayal from within could be more dangerous than any external threat. Stories whispered among villagers told of priests who disappeared after failing their duties, or of ceremonies interrupted by visions that warned of impending doom. To protect the blood seal was to embrace not only devotion but vigilance, cunning, and the constant awareness that one misstep could unravel centuries of careful guardianship. The jaguar, ever present in these tales, was more than symbolism. It was a reminder of the duality of existence, of strength tempered by restraint, of the seen and unseen, of life and death. The priests taught that understanding the jaguar's nature was essential to understanding the human soul. In every shadow that crossed the ceremonial ground, In every low growl echoing through the stone chambers, they saw lessons for those willing to learn. Courage, patience, and the respect for forces beyond one's comprehension. The Olmec's spiritual practices were intertwined with their environment. Rivers, mountains, and caves were not merely geographic features, but sacred spaces where the veil between worlds was thin. Ceremonial centers were strategically located, often aligned with celestial events, suggesting a deep understanding of astronomy and its significance in their religious life. Within these spaces, the priests performed rites that could last hours or even days, chanting to invoke protection, fertility, and divine insight. The blood seal, though hidden from most eyes, was always present in thought, a silent anchor around which the entire spiritual universe revolved. Stories of the seal's power spread quietly among the people. It was said to hold the essence of the gods themselves, a conduit for divine communication, and a warning system for catastrophes that might threaten the civilization. Only the most trusted priests could approach it, and only at carefully calculated times. The common people, while aware of its existence, were forbidden from understanding its true nature. This secrecy was not cruelty, it was survival. To misuse such power would invite disaster, not just for the individual, but for the entire community. And yet, even with such caution, the seal inspired awe and fear. It was a reminder that the Olmecs were not merely builders of stone and monuments. They were custodians of a knowledge that reached into the very fabric of reality. The jaguar, the priests, the rituals, all converged to create a society in which the sacred and the political, the visible and the invisible, were inseparable. Through this lens, one could begin to glimpse why the blood seal was more than an artifact. It was a living embodiment of faith, power, and the unbreakable bond between humans and the mysteries they revered. In the misty dawn, as the jungle slowly awoke, one could almost feel the pulse of history vibrating through the trees. The jaguar's roar echoed across the valleys, a reminder of the wild intelligence and fierce protection that had guided the Olmecs for centuries. Their legacy, carved in stone and blood, remained a haunting testament to their devotion and the enigmatic forces they sought to understand. The blood seal, though unseen, was the thread that wove their civilization together, a secret that carried the weight of generations, a mystery that would outlast empires and explorers alike. The priests moved through the stone corridors of their ceremonial centers like shadows of a forgotten world, their presence almost imperceptible yet undeniably commanding. They were the keepers of a knowledge that none could question, the silent arbiters of what could be seen, touched, or spoken. To the people, they were intermediaries with the divine, figures of awe and fear whose every word carried the weight of destiny. But beneath their outward serenity lay a life of discipline, secrecy, and relentless vigilance, for they were not only performing rituals, they were guarding a secret that could unravel the world around them if it fell into the wrong hands. Their hierarchy was strict and intricate. Novices began their training as children, removed from ordinary life and immersed in the sacred. They learned to read the language of the gods encoded in carvings, gestures, and symbols. They memorized the chants that resonated with cosmic forces and practiced rituals over and over, perfecting them until each movement became instinctual. Mistakes were forbidden. The wrong chant, the slightest misstep, could anger the deities or disrupt the balance the priests were sworn to maintain. The novices were molded into instruments of devotion, their minds and bodies intertwined with the spiritual duties they would one day perform. At the center of this devotion lay the blood seal, a secret so profound that only the highest-ranking priests could approach it. It was more than an artifact. It was a living emblem of authority, faith, and cosmic balance. The priests believed it to contain knowledge of life and death, the cycles of the earth, and the invisible threads that connected humanity to the divine. To hold it, even briefly, was to feel the pulse of history itself, the triumphs, the sacrifices, and the countless generations who had upheld its guardianship. Every priest who touched the seal was reminded that their devotion was a covenant, binding them to a responsibility that surpassed personal ambition or desire. But guarding the seal was not without peril. The priests faced constant threats, not only from outsiders who might covet its power, but from human frailty itself. Jealousy, ambition, and doubt could creep into the hearts of even the most devout. Legends spoke of priests who had failed, who had allowed their curiosity or pride to override their duty. The consequences were immediate and severe. Some vanished without a trace. Others were said to have succumbed to madness, driven by visions too vast for a mortal mind to contain. The seal, in its silent, unyielding presence, demanded unwavering loyalty, and it tested that loyalty relentlessly. Ritual spaces were designed to reinforce this sacred authority. The chambers were often carved deep into the earth or hidden within thick jungle, accessible only to those who knew the paths and the secret signs. The walls bore carvings of jaguars, serpents, and ancestral figures, each symbol a layer of instruction or warning. The air was filled with incense, smoke twisting in patterns that mirrored the constellations. Candles and oil lamps flickered shadows across the faces of the priests, creating a sense that the living were momentarily part of a cosmic drama beyond comprehension. Here, every chant, every gesture, was both prayer and protection, a shield against the chaos that lay beyond human understanding. The priests' lives were a delicate balance between fear and faith. They experienced awe as deeply as terror, for the forces they invoked could heal or destroy, reveal or conceal. It was not merely belief that bound them, it was a profound understanding that the world was fragile, and that knowledge without reverence could become a weapon of unimaginable consequence. The blood seal symbolized this principle. It was a conduit of power, yes, but also a test of the human spirit. Those who were unworthy would falter. Those who were worthy would become something more than human, carriers of a responsibility that transcended life and death. The veil between the mortal world and the divine was thin within the priesthood. Dreams, omens, and visions were interpreted as guidance from forces unseen. They spoke of cosmic alignments, of rituals that could influence rainfall, fertility, and the cycles of the earth. Some accounts, fragmented and cryptic, even suggested that the seal could reveal events yet to come, providing a roadmap of destiny to those disciplined enough to comprehend it. And yet, every revelation came with a cost, a psychological toll that weighed heavily on the guardians. In learning too much, they risked losing themselves, becoming vessels of knowledge that their mortal minds could scarcely contain. It was this tension between devotion and fear, knowledge and responsibility, that defined the priesthood. They were scholars, mystics, and warriors in their own right, each action meticulously calculated to honor the covenant of the seal. Their lives were a quiet drama, unfolding in shadows, often unseen by those who would later write history. To outsiders, they may have appeared enigmatic, almost mystical. To the Olmec people, they were protectors, intermediaries, and sometimes terrifying reminders that there were forces in the world beyond human control. And always, in the background, the jaguar watched. Its presence was carved in stone, worn into masks, etched into ceremonial thrones. It was a symbol of vigilance, a reminder of the silent eyes that observed every thought and deed. For the priests, it was both guide and guardian, a spiritual mirror reflecting the discipline, courage, and wisdom required to stand watch over the blood seal. Their connection to the jaguar was intimate, a relationship forged through ritual, meditation, and shared understanding of the invisible currents of the world. The secrecy of the priesthood was absolute. Outsiders were kept at the periphery, able to witness the grandeur but never to touch its core. The blood seal remained hidden, not as a tool of power, but as a sacred trust. To protect it was to protect the very fabric of their society, to maintain the balance between life, death, and the mysteries that governed both. And yet, legends whispered, there were moments when even a priest's vigilance could not contain fate entirely. When the seal's presence alone altered events, its aura shaping destinies in ways no human hand could control. In the silence of the ceremonial chamber, the weight of this responsibility was tangible. Each priest, standing in reverent stillness, understood the stakes. They were the living embodiment of a covenant older than memory, chosen to bridge the human and the divine. The blood seal, though unseen by most, radiated a presence that demanded respect, fear, and devotion in equal measure. It was the ultimate test of faith, the cornerstone of the Olmec spiritual universe, and the reason the priesthood endured, generation after generation, against time, greed, and the relentless encroachment of change. Blood was never simply a symbol to the Olmecs. It was a language, a bridge between the mortal and the divine, and a currency of power that transcended gold or stone. The very idea of blood as a medium of communication with higher forces was embedded in their rituals, their stories, and their understanding of the universe. To the priests, blood carried memory, intention, and energy. It was the essence of life itself. The spilling of it was not an act of cruelty, but a deliberate invocation, a way to align human will with cosmic order. And at the heart of these rites lay the blood seal, a sacred object whose potency could only be activated through the disciplined, ritualized shedding of life essence. Ceremonies involving blood were elaborate, measured, and laden with meaning. Priests prepared for hours, adorning themselves with sacred pigments, intricate headdresses, and jaguar pelts that symbolized their connection to both the natural and supernatural realms. The air would be thick with incense, smoke curling in hypnotic spirals, masking the iron tang of the offerings. Participants moved in precise, rehearsed patterns, chanting words that echoed across stone walls, across centuries, across the invisible divide between worlds. Each motion, each syllable, each drop of blood carried a resonance that the uninitiated could not perceive. But for the priests, it was a symphony, a sacred protocol, and a warning all at once. Blood, in this context, was not mere liquid. It was memory, bearing the lineage of ancestors and the accumulated devotion of generations. It was believed to transmit intention directly to the gods, amplifying prayers and ensuring that divine forces heard the voice of humanity. In the rituals surrounding the blood seal, this principle was taken to its utmost extreme. The seal itself, carved with symbols that scholars today can only speculate upon, was said to glow or hum in response to the life force offered in reverence. Each drop shed was a covenant, each offering a silent pact between the priesthood and powers far greater than themselves. Sacrifice, then, was not just physical, it was profoundly psychological and spiritual. Priests were trained to understand that their devotion was tested constantly, and that failure could invite catastrophe. The spilling of blood was both a gift and a warning. It reminded the participants of their fragility, their mortality, and the weight of the secrets they carried. Even the most experienced priests were said to feel a tremor of fear when standing before the seal, a recognition that they were touching forces that demanded respect, discipline, and humility beyond ordinary comprehension. The rituals were often conducted in hidden chambers, deep within the ceremonial centers, or in natural caves that had been sanctified through generations of devotion. These spaces were designed not only for privacy but for spiritual resonance. The echo of chants, the flicker of torchlight, and the scent of incense and blood combined to create an atmosphere where the ordinary world receded, and the extraordinary became palpable. Here, the blood seal was not merely an object. It was a presence, a silent observer, and a judge. Its guardians approached with reverence, understanding that the energy they released could alter events far beyond the chamber itself. The human dimension of these practices cannot be understated. The priests who performed the rituals were not immune to fear, awe, or doubt. They bore the weight of responsibility for entire communities, for entire generations, and for the unseen forces they invoked. Tales passed down through time spoke of priests who fainted, who wept, or who trembled before the seal. Proof that even those most devoted could be overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of the sacred energy they engaged with. And yet, these trials only strengthened their resolve, reinforcing the discipline and courage required to continue as guardians of a secret that was larger than any individual. Legends speak of ceremonies so powerful that they were remembered as events that changed the course of history itself. Crops were said to flourish or fail depending on the precision of the rites. Diseases were averted, floods contained, and disasters forestalled. While modern observers might dismiss these accounts as myth, within the context of Olmec belief, they were the natural outcome of ritual practice, evidence that the careful alignment of human intention, spiritual discipline, and cosmic forces could shape reality itself. The blood seal, central to these rituals, was the axis upon which these influences turned, a focal point of energy and intention. The symbolism of blood extended beyond ritual. It represented lineage, connection, and responsibility. The priests themselves were often selected from families devoted to the temple, their identities intertwined with the seal. To fail in ritual was not only a personal failure, it was a failure of heritage, of community, and of the sacred covenant that spanned generations. This understanding lent an almost unbearable weight to each ceremony, yet it also forged extraordinary devotion. The Olmecs believed that only through such rigor could the human and divine be reconciled, and only through this reconciliation could the civilization endure. Interestingly, the shedding of blood was not always violent in the way outsiders imagine. It could be a cut, a piercing, or the careful collection of drops in sacred vessels, each method deliberate, symbolic, and infused with intention. The act itself was more about control, discipline, and offering than destruction. It was a communication, a transmission of life energy that spoke louder than words, carrying with it prayers, fears, hopes, and warnings. The blood seal, in this sense, was more than an object. It was a receptor, a recorder, a living symbol of the covenant between mortals and gods. Despite its sacredness, or perhaps because of it, the blood seal was also a source of danger. Legends suggest that those who approached it with arrogance, greed, or impure intent were met with misfortune. Illness, madness, or sudden death were said to follow those who tried to exploit its power. For the priests, these warnings reinforced the need for absolute vigilance and humility. The seal demanded respect, discipline, and devotion, and its guardians knew that failure could have consequences not only for themselves, but for the people they were sworn to protect. And yet, even amidst fear, awe, and the burden of responsibility, there was beauty and transcendence. Witnessing a ritual or participating in one under the guidance of the priests was to experience the world in a way ordinary humans could scarcely comprehend. The chants reverberated through stone, the smoke twisted like living spirits, and the jaguar motifs seemed to watch, alive in their symbolism. Life, death, devotion, and cosmic order converged in a single, fleeting moment. The blood seal was the axis of this convergence, the silent witness, the keeper of a covenant older than memory itself. The Olmecs understood something profound. Power without devotion could corrupt, knowledge without reverence could destroy, and secrecy without discipline could invite catastrophe. Blood was the medium through which they taught, disciplined, and protected. It was the language of the sacred, the bridge between worlds, and the covenant that allowed a civilization to endure amidst uncertainty. And at the center of it all, the blood seal awaited, patient and eternal, its presence a reminder that some mysteries were meant to be touched only by those who understood the full measure of responsibility they entailed. The Olmecs were masters of stone, sculptors of both memory and mystery. Their colossal heads, some weighing tens of tons, were placed with deliberate precision across plazas and ceremonial centers, each one a silent sentinel watching over the land. But these were not mere portraits of rulers. They were coded messages, cryptic narratives carved in basalt, intended to communicate truths too profound, too dangerous, to be spoken aloud. Scholars still debate their meaning, but for the priests, and perhaps for the civilization that built them, these monuments were more than stone. They were guardians, silent witnesses, and vessels of sacred knowledge. Among these mysteries lay subtle hints about the blood seal, encrypted in angles, alignments, and facial expressions that seemed almost alive. Walking among these towering sculptures, one cannot help but sense that the Olmecs intended more than admiration. They intended obedience, reverence, and caution. Each face carries an intensity, a gaze that follows the viewer, as if aware of the secrets it shields. The proportions are deliberate, the features stylized yet individualized, suggesting that each head tells a story, marks a lineage, and perhaps encodes a fragment of the ritual knowledge that the priests safeguarded. Every wrinkle, every jawline, every tilt of the head was intentional, an element of a language that has long since been partially lost to time, but whose echoes persist in myth and memory. These monuments were more than symbols of power, they were instruments of protection. Archaeologists have noted that many of the heads are placed in alignment with rivers, mountains, or other natural features. In Olmec belief, the environment itself was alive with spiritual energy, and the placement of these sculptures may have acted as a kind of protective lattice, channeling forces and marking boundaries that ordinary people dared not cross. It is within this network of sacred space that the blood seal found its sanctuary. The seal, though small and hidden from view, existed at the intersection of human devotion, cosmic alignment, and earthly geography, creating a resonance that amplified its power and reinforced its secrecy. The scale of these creations speaks to a civilization both visionary and disciplined. Moving stones that weigh more than a modern automobile without the aid of machinery required ingenuity, coordination, and perhaps a level of ritual focus that transformed labor into a spiritual act. It was as if the Olmecs themselves believed that each chiseled line, each polished surface, contributed to a larger purpose. A message for the future, a warning to the uninitiated, and a covenant with forces unseen. The colossal heads, in this sense, were both tombstones and lighthouses, memorials to human endeavor and beacons of sacred knowledge. Among these monumental expressions of power, subtle motifs suggest a connection to the blood seal. Carvings of serpents, jaguars, and celestial symbols appear in patterns that repeat across different sites, hinting at a ritual geography. Markers, perhaps, pointing to the location of hidden chambers or ceremonial pathways. Some heads bear scarifications on their faces, mysterious lines that could correspond to constellations, calendars, or spiritual maps. The priests would have understood these symbols intimately, reading them as both guidance and warning, while the general populace may have perceived only awe and intimidation. This deliberate encoding ensured that only those initiated into the mysteries could navigate the sacred world of the Olmecs safely. The act of creating these monuments was itself ritualistic. The laborers and priests who shaped and transported the stone likely engaged in ceremonies, chants, and offerings to sanctify the work, ensuring that both human effort and divine favor aligned. Blood may have been part of these rites, binding the energy of life to the energy of stone. Each head was not merely sculpted. It was consecrated, infused with intention, and imbued with the sacred authority of the priesthood. In this way, the colossal heads became silent guardians, sentinels whose eyes, carved from basalt, could outlast centuries of neglect, conquest, and erosion, continuing to watch over the blood seal long after the priests themselves had vanished. Even the weather seemed complicit in preserving these mysteries. Moss and lichen grew over the surfaces of the heads, softening edges and concealing details, as though nature itself sought to protect the sacred knowledge embedded within. Rainwater carved gentle grooves along the stone, highlighting some features and obscuring others, creating a living dialogue between human craftsmanship and the environment. Each century that passed added another layer of secrecy, another veil over the truth. It is almost as if the Olmecs had anticipated the passage of time, designing their monuments not merely to impress, but to endure, and to continue hiding what must remain hidden until the right eyes, guided by the right hands, were ready to see. The connection between these monuments and the blood seal was both symbolic and practical. The seal, though small, was the spiritual core of the society, and the monuments acted as protective satellites, channeling attention, reverence, and ritual energy toward the central secret. To disturb the headstones without understanding their purpose was to risk misalignment of forces, spiritual imbalance, or even catastrophe. The priests, in their wisdom, had encoded the location, meaning, and timing of access to the seal in a way that only they could decipher. A puzzle of stone, blood, and cosmic understanding. Visitors to these ceremonial centers in the modern era often report a sense of unease, an inexplicable feeling of being watched. While some attribute this to the sheer scale and artistry of the monuments, others speculate that remnants of the ancient ritual energy linger, a residual echo of the power once concentrated here. The blood seal, in the center of this spiritual lattice, remains untouchable yet undeniably present, a node of authority that shaped the lives of the Olmecs and left its imprint on the landscape, the monuments, and the collective consciousness of the people. Even in ruin, the colossal heads convey an unshakable truth. the Olmecs were not content with leaving behind simple markers of power. Their civilization was a symphony of stone, ritual, and secrecy, orchestrated to protect what mattered most. The blood seal, while hidden from common sight, was the focal point around which this symphony revolved. Every carved face, every jaguar motif, every alignment with the stars or rivers was part of a carefully designed network, ensuring that the seal remained both potent and secure, visible only to those who had earned the right to perceive it. The immense scale, the deliberate placement, and the intricate symbolism of the Olmec monuments were all part of a culture that understood the power of suggestion, secrecy, and awe. Through stone, the priests communicated their authority, their knowledge, and their warnings. Through geometry, mythology, and ritual, they protected a secret that could shift the balance of human understanding. And while centuries of jungle, conquest, and neglect have eroded much of this physical evidence, the messages encoded in basalt remain, challenging anyone who seeks to understand the full magnitude of what the Olmecs created and what they guarded so fiercely. In this way, the monuments were more than art. They were sentinels, conspirators, and witnesses. Each colossal head, each ceremonial carving, was a key to a greater puzzle, a cipher whose solution lay in devotion, knowledge, and the unwavering discipline of the priesthood. The blood seal, hidden at the heart of this sacred network, was the ultimate prize, the final secret, the pivot upon which the spiritual and material worlds of the Olmecs turned. And for those who dared to seek it, the path was as perilous as it was awe-inspiring, a journey through stone, shadow, and the unyielding weight of human faith. Beneath the canopy of the dense, ever-hungry jungle, cities that once thrived on the banks of rivers now lie hidden, swallowed by time, water, and vegetation. The Olmecs, whose civilization flourished more than 3 millennia ago, left behind monuments of astonishing scale and sophistication, but so much more has been lost. Entire ceremonial centers, plazas, and habitation zones have vanished beneath layers of silt and foliage, leaving only fragments for archaeologists to uncover. And yet, in these fragments, hints of the blood seal persist, scattered like breadcrumbs across the ancient landscape, challenging explorers to piece together a puzzle whose edges are forever incomplete. The jungle itself is both protector and thief. Vines twist around collapsed temples, roots crack stone monuments, and creeping moss conceals carvings worn by centuries of rain. Rivers, once vital arteries of Olmec life, have shifted, erasing paths, hiding tombs, and claiming sacred spaces. In many cases, entire cities may have been lost to flooding or natural disaster, their memory surviving only in oral traditions and cryptic glyphs. The priests, attuned to both the material and spiritual worlds, would have understood these shifts as messages, tests, warnings, and opportunities encoded by the very forces they worshipped. It was in these hidden, often inaccessible locations that the blood seal was most likely safeguarded, its power preserved by obscurity itself. Archaeologists and explorers today face the dual challenge of physical and interpretive terrain. The jungle conceals its secrets, but the fragmentary evidence that remains is difficult to interpret. Monumental heads rise unexpectedly from the foliage, stele emerge like ghostly witnesses, and ceremonial altars peek out of eroded riverbanks. Each artifact offers tantalizing clues, yet none provide a complete picture. Even more elusive are the objects of ritual significance, such as the blood seal. Scholars debate whether it was a small carved stone, a medallion, or even a codex, but the exact form has been lost to time. What endures is the sense that the Olmecs were deliberate in hiding it, using geography itself as a safeguard. The locations of these lost sites were no accident. The Olmecs understood the strategic value of natural barriers, hidden valleys, and river bends. Cities were constructed to be defensible against both human adversaries and natural calamities, yet also aligned with spiritual energies, an interplay between practicality and sacred geometry. Priests likely chose remote or elevated sites for rituals, ensuring that the blood seal remained inaccessible to the uninitiated. Some chambers may have been submerged intentionally or concealed within labyrinthine stone constructions, so that only those who knew the exact sequence of rituals and signs could approach it safely. These measures transformed the landscape itself into a guardian of knowledge, a silent ally of the priesthood. Legends passed down through generations hint at these hidden sanctuaries. Oral traditions speak of deep caverns, of rivers that vanish into the earth, and of temples so well concealed that the untrained eye cannot detect them. Many of these stories blur the line between history and myth, yet they persist, carrying within them kernels of truth. Priests may have used these narratives to test the devotion of their apprentices, sending them on quests that demanded not only courage but discernment, intuition, and obedience. The blood seal, in these accounts, was the ultimate reward, a secret whose discovery validated both spiritual worth and human discipline. The artifacts that have been recovered, fragmentary though they are, hint at the sophistication of Olmec engineering and ritual practice. Carvings on stone, remnants of ceremonial altars, and intricate jade ornaments suggest a civilization capable of integrating the spiritual and the physical with astonishing precision. Some glyphs appear to encode astronomical knowledge, others map the flows of rivers or the cycles of the seasons. Within these layers of meaning, archaeologists speculate that instructions for safeguarding the blood seal may have been embedded, hidden in plain sight for those who knew how to read the symbols. It was a civilization that anticipated the passage of centuries, encoding its secrets in ways that only the initiated could fully comprehend. Yet, as much as we know, the missing pieces of the puzzle loom large. Entire sections of ancient cities remain unexplored or inaccessible, buried beneath layers of sediment, overgrown by jungle, or lost to erosion. Archaeological expeditions often uncover just enough to ignite the imagination, leaving tantalizing glimpses of a civilization that valued secrecy as much as artistry. The blood seal itself may have been moved multiple times to prevent theft or desecration, its location shifting with the tides of history. Priests may have devised intricate systems to ensure that the seal's power remains secure even in the event of political upheaval, environmental disaster, or societal collapse. The human element adds another layer of intrigue. The Olmecs were not passive witnesses to the passage of time. They actively manipulated their environment and their rituals to maintain control over what was sacred. Every carved head, every stela, every alignment with a celestial body was part of a deliberate strategy to encode knowledge, convey warning, and protect what was most vital. The blood seal, central to these designs, was not simply hidden. It was integrated into the very framework of the civilization. Its guardianship required intelligence, devotion, and a profound understanding of both human and natural forces. Modern explorers often report a sense of displacement in these ruins, an awareness that the spaces were designed to communicate with something beyond the ordinary. Paths wind unexpectedly, chambers open in ways that seem deliberate, and carvings suggest layers of meaning beyond their aesthetic value. Walking among these remnants, one can almost sense the presence of the priesthood, the echo of rituals long extinguished, and the weight of a secret that has outlasted empires. The blood seal, though unseen, is felt, a silent presence at the heart of the landscape, commanding attention, respect, and perhaps even fear. The passage of time has only deepened the mystery. Centuries of neglect, conquest, and environmental change have erased much of the material record, but they have also preserved it in ways that are subtle yet profound. Stone monuments endure. Rivers shift and carve new channels. The jungle grows over the old sites, hiding but not destroying the legacy of the Olmecs. In this tension between concealment and revelation, the blood seal continues to occupy a liminal space, hidden yet central, absent yet profoundly influential. Its story is woven into the ruins, the myths, and the very pulse of the land itself. Ultimately, the lost cities remind us that history is not only what we recover but also what remains deliberately out of reach. The Olmecs understood that the blood seal was a force too powerful, too dangerous, to be left exposed. They entrusted its protection to generations of priests, to stone and river, to the careful choreography of ritual and geography. And though centuries have passed, their strategy endures. Even as modern archaeology scratches at the surface, even as explorers map and photograph the remnants, the seal's true nature remains elusive, a secret safeguarded by the ingenuity, devotion, and foresight of a civilization that understood the extraordinary power of concealment. In the silence of the jungle, in the shadow of fallen temples, one can almost feel the resonance of the past. The priests are gone, the cities lie in ruin, and yet the blood seal waits, patient and unyielding. Its legacy is a reminder that some mysteries are not merely to be discovered. They are to be respected, understood, and approached with humility. And as the mist rises from the river, curling around the remnants of walls and plazas, the pulse of the Olmec civilization can still be felt, guiding those who dare to seek, teaching that the journey of discovery is as important as the secret itself. The Olmec priests were more than spiritual leaders. They were orchestrators of perception, guardians of secrets, and masters of influence. Their role extended beyond the ceremonial chambers and into every aspect of daily life. To the ordinary citizen, the priests were intermediaries with the divine, their authority unquestioned and absolute. But to the initiated, they were scholars, mystics, and strategists, wielding knowledge that could shape communities, control behavior, and ensure the survival of sacred covenants. Every action, every word, every symbol was calibrated to maintain harmony between the human and spiritual realms, and, most importantly, to protect the blood seal. Their training was rigorous, designed to temper intellect, devotion, and courage into a single, disciplined purpose. Apprentices learned to observe the natural world with the precision of a scientist, reading the movement of rivers, the patterns of clouds, and the phases of the moon as indicators of spiritual alignment. They studied the intricate language of carvings, glyphs, and masks, decoding messages embedded in stone that conveyed rituals, cosmology, and guidance for protecting the most sacred objects. But it was not just a cerebral pursuit. The body, mind, and spirit had to act in perfect synchrony. Every movement during a ritual, every chant, every offering was a test of devotion, precision, and understanding. A rehearsal for the day they might approach the blood seal itself. Among the highest mysteries imparted to the priests was the understanding of duality. Life and death, human and divine, chaos and order. The blood seal embodied these dualities, a symbol of power that was both generative and dangerous. To touch it without the proper preparation was to court catastrophe. Many legends tell of priests who, despite their training, were overwhelmed by the seal's presence, their minds fracturing under the weight of forbidden knowledge. These stories were not simply cautionary tales. They were lessons, reminders that devotion must be absolute, and that the sacred cannot be approached lightly. The power of the seal extended beyond the ceremonial chamber. Priests believed it could influence the environment, the community, and even the course of events. Rituals performed in its presence were said to ensure bountiful harvests, ward off disease, and protect against natural disasters. The seal acted as a conduit, amplifying the collective energy of the participants and channeling it toward the forces they sought to engage. But with great power came the ever-present danger of corruption. The priest's most pressing task was to ensure that desire, ambition, or fear did not taint the sacred proceedings, for even a small lapse could have consequences far beyond the chamber walls. The psychological burden of these responsibilities cannot be overstated. Priests lived lives of intense focus and restraint, cutting themselves off from ordinary indulgences, pleasures, and distractions. Their identity was inseparable from their duty. Failure was unthinkable. They endured rigorous tests of loyalty and endurance, facing simulations of crises, moral dilemmas, and spiritual challenges designed to prepare them for moments when the seal's power demanded absolute mastery. Many did not succeed. Some faltered under the weight of responsibility, while others voluntarily withdrew, understanding that human frailty could jeopardize centuries of careful guardianship. Yet, within this extreme discipline lay profound awe and beauty. Rituals involving the blood seal were transformative experiences, not only for the priests but for the communities they guided. The act of witnessing or participating, even peripherally, conveyed a sense of alignment with forces larger than oneself. The chanting, the smoke, the rhythmic movements, all worked together to create a liminal space where ordinary perception dissolved, leaving a heightened awareness of connection, purpose, and cosmic order. The seal, though often unseen by the general populace, was the focal point of this transformation, a silent nexus around which faith and ritual converged. The symbol of the jaguar was central to this understanding. Jaguars represented power, stealth, and the fluidity between worlds. Priests often wore jaguar pelts, carved masks, and jewelry that evoked the feline strength. The jaguar was both a guide and a reminder, a spiritual mirror reflecting the discipline, courage, and vigilance required to serve as a guardian of the blood seal. Its image permeated ceremonial spaces, blending myth with lived experience, and reinforcing the ever-present message that life and death, seen and unseen, were bound together in intricate, delicate balance. The secrecy surrounding the blood seal was deliberate and multilayered. Its physical location was hidden, its access controlled, and its meaning encoded in symbols, alignments, and rituals known only to the priesthood. Outsiders, no matter how curious or learned, could only glimpse fragments, glyphs, carvings, or ceremonial artifacts, but not the core of the mystery itself. This deliberate obfuscation ensured that the seal's power remained intact, safeguarded against misuse. It also created an aura of awe and fear, which reinforced obedience and reverence, ensuring that the covenant between human and divine remained unbroken. Even as centuries passed and the Olmec civilization waned, the seal's influence persisted. Priests trained successors, passing down knowledge through oral instruction, coded carvings, and carefully controlled rituals. The continuity of guardianship was as much about psychology as logistics. Maintaining reverence and fear across generations was essential to preserving the integrity of the seal. The Olmecs understood that power without wisdom, or secrecy without discipline, could lead to disaster. In this way, the seal became not just an object, but a principle, a test of human devotion, insight, and self-restraint. Some legends hint that the seal's influence reached even beyond human perception. Priests spoke of visions, omens, and dreams that conveyed knowledge inaccessible by ordinary senses. These experiences were interpreted as guidance, warnings, or confirmation of the seal's alignment with cosmic forces. While modern eyes might dismiss such accounts as superstition, within the Olmec worldview, they were evidence of the extraordinary reach of disciplined devotion. The blood seal was not inert. It was alive in memory, in ritual, and perhaps in a subtle resonance that shaped events unseen, a secret too powerful to be fully understood even by those who protected it. In the silence of the ceremonial chambers, away from the prying eyes of the uninitiated, the priests' lives were defined by vigilance, devotion, and a profound understanding of the consequences of error. Every movement was deliberate, every chant intentional, every gesture a measure of alignment between human action and divine will. The blood seal was both a challenge and a reward, a nexus of power that demanded mastery, humility, and unwavering faith. Those who approached it successfully were transformed, bearing the weight of knowledge and responsibility that transcended ordinary life. The blood seal, though small and hidden, exerted influence far beyond its physical presence. It was a fulcrum of spiritual, social, and environmental balance, a secret that shaped the Olmec civilization and left an imprint that resonates even today. Its guardians understood that the seal's power was inseparable from its mystery. Revelation without understanding could destroy rather than enlighten. And so, they maintained secrecy, discipline, and ritual, creating a legacy of reverence and awe that persists across millennia, echoing in stone, myth, and memory. The blood seal was not merely an object. It was a concept, a concentration of power that existed at the intersection of faith, knowledge, and human intention. To the Olmecs, it represented the ultimate covenant between mortal and divine, a bridge through which the forces of life and death could be negotiated. Its guardians understood that power, once revealed without preparation, could be catastrophic. The seal demanded discipline, devotion, and a mind attuned to both the seen and unseen. Every priest who approached it underwent a transformation of perception, sensing patterns, energies, and forces that ordinary eyes could never perceive. The rituals surrounding the seal were intricate, performed with precision honed through years, sometimes decades of preparation. priests would immerse themselves in meditation, fasting, and study, aligning their minds and bodies with the rhythms of the cosmos. They learned to read the subtle language of shadows, light, and sound, interpreting signals from the natural and spiritual worlds alike. Chants were not arbitrary. Each tone, each repetition, corresponded to cycles of the earth, the movements of celestial bodies, or the flow of energy believed to connect all living things. The blood seal acted as a conduit, amplifying these energies and translating human devotion into tangible, cosmic effects. The concept of guardianship extended beyond physical protection. The priests were also psychological architects, shaping perception, belief, and behavior through ritual, symbolism, and carefully managed secrecy. Those outside the priesthood, witnessing only fragments of ceremonies, would see awe-inspiring displays of devotion. Torchlight flickering across stone altars, masks of jaguars staring from shadows, incense curling into invisible shapes, but the full significance of the ritual remained veiled. The seal's true nature was accessible only to those initiated, who had trained to interpret the symbols, understand the alignments, and channel the sacred energy responsibly. Initiates who approached the seal were tested in ways both subtle and extreme. Legends tell of priests standing before the seal for hours, sometimes days, as part of their preparation, enduring sensory deprivation, fasting, or meditation designed to sharpen intuition and strengthen focus. These exercises were intended to break the ordinary perception of time and self, allowing the apprentice to align fully with the ritual and the cosmic forces it invoked. Only those who maintained clarity, humility, and courage could handle the seal's presence without succumbing to fear, doubt, or overwhelming awe. The blood seal was also deeply symbolic, reflecting the Olmec understanding of duality and balance. Its imagery, carved or inscribed, often fused human and animal forms, celestial symbols, and abstract patterns. Jaguars, serpents, and other sacred creatures appeared alongside representations of the human form, creating a visual language that spoke of unity between nature, humanity, and the divine. Every detail was intentional, every curve and angle encoded with meaning that guided the priests in their rituals. The seal's power lay not only in its physical form, but in the layers of symbolic resonance it carried, connecting action with consequence, intention with cosmic response. Yet secrecy remained paramount. The Olmecs knew that the seal's power could corrupt as easily as it could protect. Stories passed down suggest that those who approached it without preparation, driven by ambition, greed, or curiosity, suffered consequences ranging from madness to death. For the priests, the stakes were immense. They were not only safeguarding the seal but also preserving the stability of society, the balance of natural forces, and the trust between the mortal and the divine. Every ritual was an exercise in responsibility, humility, and courage, demanding the highest standards of devotion and discipline. The location of the blood seal itself added to the mystery. Hidden within labyrinthine chambers, caves, or ceremonial structures, it was designed to be virtually inaccessible to anyone not initiated into its secrets. Some priests were tasked with relocating it periodically to protect it from discovery, creating a living system of guardianship that adapted to environmental shifts, social changes, or threats from rival factions. Its concealment was not merely practical. It was spiritual. To reveal the seal prematurely would have been to disrupt the equilibrium, unleashing forces that could not be contained by untrained hands. Natural elements played a role in its protection as well. Rivers, hills, dense vegetation, and cavernous depths were integrated into the seal's safeguarding. The Olmecs understood the landscape as a living partner, capable of shielding, enhancing, and channeling spiritual energy. Alignment with celestial bodies ensured that only at specific times could rituals be performed with full efficacy. The priests were attuned to the positions of stars, phases of the moon, and the sun's trajectory, coordinating human action with cosmic rhythm. In this way, the blood seal existed not in isolation but as the heart of a living system, intertwining human, natural, and spiritual forces. The psychological impact on those who approached the seal cannot be overstated. Accounts, oral traditions, and later interpretations describe sensations of awe, vertigo, and transcendence. Some priests reported visions of ancestral spirits, cosmic patterns, or divine presences, experiences that shaped their understanding of their role and of the seal's purpose. Fear and reverence were inseparable. Both heightened perception, sharpened intuition, and reinforced the moral discipline required to wield influence responsibly. Those who emerged intact were transformed, carrying the burden and insight of guardianship for the rest of their lives. Even the smallest mistake in ceremony could have consequences. Chants must be precise, offerings exact, movements perfectly timed. Any deviation could disrupt the flow of energy, diminish the ritual's effectiveness, or even bring misfortune. The precision demanded by the blood seal was a reflection of the Olmec understanding that the sacred required mastery, vigilance, and unwavering attention. Ritual errors were more than procedural missteps. They were breaches of covenant, acts that threatened the delicate balance between human will and cosmic forces. Yet the rewards for fidelity were extraordinary. Priests who successfully engaged with the seal gained insight, spiritual power, and a profound understanding of the natural and supernatural worlds. They became living conduits for the continuity of their civilization, linking generations past and future through ritual, devotion, and secrecy. Their lives, though disciplined and constrained, were also imbued with purpose, clarity, and alignment with forces far greater than themselves. The blood seal was not just an object of power. It was a teacher, a judge, and a guide. Even in modern times, echoes of the blood seal's influence persist. The remnants of ceremonial centers, the alignment of monuments, and the lingering stories of awe and mystery hint at a civilization that understood power, responsibility, and secrecy on a level difficult for contemporary observers to comprehend. The Olmecs left a legacy not only in stone and ritual but in the enduring question: what was the true nature of the secret they protected, and what would happen if it were revealed? The blood seal, small yet monumental in spiritual significance, continues to challenge our understanding of history, ritual, and human potential. Its guardianship was a test of intellect, devotion, and moral discipline, a covenant that intertwined life, death, and cosmic order. To approach it, even conceptually, is to confront the delicate balance between knowledge and responsibility, curiosity and restraint, awe and fear. And though its precise form and location remain hidden, its story endures, a silent testament to the vision, wisdom, and devotion of the Olmec civilization. The Olmecs were not only masters of ritual but also keen observers of the cosmos. Their understanding of astronomy went far beyond marking the seasons. It was interwoven with their religious, social, and ceremonial life. The priests interpreted the movements of the sun, moon, planets, and stars as messages from the divine, indicators of cosmic balance, and instructions for human conduct. Alignments of monuments, ceremonial centers, and even the placement of colossal heads were meticulously calculated to correspond with celestial events. In this web of observation, the blood seal acted as the anchor, a focal point through which cosmic influence could be harnessed, understood, and enacted. During solstices, equinoxes, and other celestial events, the priests performed ceremonies designed to synchronize human intention with the rhythms of the universe. The blood seal, often hidden in a carefully chosen location, was central to these rituals. Its presence amplified the energy of human devotion, translating it into a tangible effect on the natural and spiritual worlds. Priests believed that misalignment could provoke disaster, drought, disease, or social unrest, while correct alignment ensured fertility, prosperity, and communal harmony. These rituals were not symbolic alone. They were considered active interventions, a means to shape reality through devotion and precision. The precision required for these celestial rituals was staggering. Priests tracked stars over decades, sometimes passing knowledge through generations to ensure continuity. Observation was continuous, meticulous, and highly disciplined. Instruments may have been rudimentary, simple rods, markers, and sightlines, but their effectiveness was profound, enabling the Olmecs to predict celestial events with remarkable accuracy. This knowledge reinforced their authority, instilling awe among the populace and maintaining the social order. The blood seal was the spiritual conduit through which these alignments were enacted, a pivot that connected human action with cosmic consequence. Sacred geography also played a crucial role. The Olmecs selected sites that enhanced the resonance of their rituals, utilizing rivers, hills, caves, and natural clearings as conduits for spiritual energy. The placement of the blood seal within these environments was deliberate, ensuring it was protected from casual intrusion while still accessible for the highest rituals. Alignments with the stars, sun, and moon turned each ceremony into a dance of human and cosmic forces, a choreography that merged devotion, observation, and spiritual discipline. The seal was at the heart of this cosmic interplay, its presence shaping the flow of ritual energy and guiding the priest's actions with invisible hands. The interplay of ritual, geography, and observation extended to the education of the priests themselves. Apprentices were trained in mathematics, astronomy, and geometry, learning to calculate alignments, predict celestial movements, and understand the complex relationships between earth and sky. Their education was both practical and spiritual. Knowledge was inseparable from devotion. Those who could master both intellect and faith became true guardians of the blood seal, capable of performing rituals with precision and insight that ensured both social stability and cosmic alignment. Failure was not an option. The consequences of error could ripple outward, affecting harvests, water supplies, and the health of the community. The blood seal, though often hidden, was understood to respond to human intention. It was not simply an object of reverence but a spiritual instrument, translating devotion, discipline, and ritual energy into effects that extended beyond the chamber. Priests reported visions, insights, and a heightened perception of patterns, of weather, human behavior, and celestial motion that guided their actions. These experiences were interpreted as confirmation of the seal's power and as instruction for future rituals. The interplay between object and observer created a feedback loop. The more disciplined the priest, the more potent the seal's influence, and the more the seal reinforced the priest's understanding of cosmic law. Legends recount that the blood seal could even affect the flow of rivers, the fertility of the land, and the behavior of animals. Such stories, passed down through generations, blurred the line between myth and observation. Yet they convey an understanding of the seal as a living nexus, connecting human, natural, and divine forces. The priest's devotion ensured that these powers were harnessed responsibly. The seal was a tool of balance, not domination, a principle carefully guarded to prevent misuse. Its secrets were encoded in ritual, in observation, and in the very layout of the sacred sites, accessible only to those who had devoted themselves fully to mastery. The psychological dimension of these rituals was profound. Participating in ceremonies involving the blood seal demanded focus, humility, and courage. Priests trained to resist fear, to maintain clarity amidst overwhelming sensory and spiritual input, and to act in perfect synchrony with others. The seal's presence amplified both the stakes and the spiritual intensity of the moment. Those unprepared could falter, overwhelmed by awe or anxiety, risking the ritual's integrity. This discipline forged not only skilled guardians but spiritually attuned individuals capable of perceiving and acting upon patterns invisible to ordinary humans. Even for the general populace, the influence of the seal was palpable. Ceremonial events, aligned with celestial occurrences, inspired awe and reinforced the authority of the priesthood. Common people witnessed grand rituals, torchlight flickering against stone, incense curling in spirals, and the rhythmic movements of cloaked figures, understanding intuitively that these acts connected them to powers beyond comprehension. The blood seal, though unseen, radiated authority and presence, a silent yet commanding participant in each ceremony. Its influence permeated social, environmental, and spiritual dimensions, shaping the daily lives and beliefs of the Olmec civilization. Ultimately, the blood seal was a linchpin in a civilization defined by observation, devotion, and secrecy. Its guardians understood the intricate balance between knowledge and restraint, power and responsibility. Through rituals, alignment with celestial forces, and meticulous education, the priests maintained both societal order and cosmic harmony. The seal was not just a sacred object. It was a principle, a living nexus of influence that demonstrated the profound sophistication and insight of the Olmecs. It was at once spiritual, practical, and transcendent, a reminder that the deepest secrets of human civilization are often inseparable from the natural and cosmic world in which they exist. In the end, the Blood Seal story is a testament to a civilization that understood the unity of life, knowledge, and the unseen forces that guide existence. Its guardianship required intelligence, courage, and devotion. Its power was encoded in ritual, geography, and celestial alignment. And though centuries have passed, and much of the Olmec world has vanished beneath jungle and river, the echo of the seal's influence remains. A subtle but profound reminder that some mysteries are eternal, hidden yet present, shaping history, perception, and belief even when unseen. The Olmecs were architects not only of stone but of secrecy. Every monument, every altar, every ceremonial pathway was designed to encode meaning, guide ritual, and safeguard what was most sacred. Among these, the Blood Seal stood as the pinnacle of their esoteric knowledge, a nexus of power whose influence extended far beyond its physical presence. To the priests, the seal was a living entity, responsive to intention, ritual, and devotion. Its guardianship required vigilance, wisdom, and unyielding discipline, for a single misstep could disrupt the delicate balance of human, natural, and spiritual forces. The preparation for approaching the Blood Seal was exhaustive. Priests would begin months, even years, in advance, training body, mind, and spirit. Fasting, meditation, and ritualized exercises were common, designed to refine perception and attune the individual to unseen forces. They learned to read subtle patterns in nature, the rustle of leaves, the shape of clouds, the movement of water, as omens and guides. Even the smallest detail could carry meaning. A river bend signaling a spiritual alignment, a celestial formation indicating the correct timing for ritual. In this way, guardians became both scholars and mystics, blending empirical observation with spiritual intuition. Rituals surrounding the Blood Seal were highly orchestrated. Every movement, chant, and offering had a precise purpose. Torchlight flickered to illuminate sacred symbols, incense spiraled to carry prayers, and blood, whether a drop from a ritual cut or a ceremonial offering, was carefully collected to activate the seal's latent power. These ceremonies were designed to synchronize human intention with cosmic forces, creating a resonance that could influence weather, fertility, and the health of communities. To the uninitiated, such acts may appear symbolic. To the priests, they were interventions, a means to channel the universe itself through disciplined action. The seal's physical form remains a matter of speculation. Some legends describe a small carved stone, inscribed with symbols that vibrated with spiritual energy. Others speak of a medallion, an object whose materials were chosen for both durability and metaphysical resonance. What is clear is that its significance far exceeded its material presence. The Blood Seal was a principle, a focal point through which the Olmecs aligned devotion, ritual, and cosmic law. Its guardianship was both a sacred duty and a profound responsibility, demanding skill, courage, and unwavering focus. One of the most remarkable aspects of the seal was its interaction with the landscape. Priests selected ritual sites based on topography, alignment with rivers, caves, hills, and celestial events. The environment itself became a participant in the sacred choreography, amplifying the seal's power and protecting it from intrusion. Some chambers may have been deliberately hidden within labyrinthine stone structures or deep caves, accessible only to those trained in specific ritual pathways. This integration of nature, architecture, and ceremony reflects a sophisticated understanding of energy, space, and human psychology, ensuring that the seal's secrets remained intact through generations. The priest's psychological and spiritual training was essential for handling the seal. Exposure to its power could overwhelm the unprepared, inducing visions, disorientation, or even madness. Legends recount priests who, despite years of preparation, faltered before the seal, their minds fracturing under the weight of revelation. Such stories were both warnings and lessons, reinforcing the necessity of discipline, humility, and respect. Those who succeeded were transformed, gaining insight into the delicate balance between life and death, human intention and divine law, chaos and order. The blood seal was also a teaching tool. Initiates were introduced to its mysteries gradually, through layers of ritual, symbolism, and observation. They learned that power required understanding, restraint, and ethical responsibility. The seal could amplify human intention, but only when aligned with purpose and devotion. Misuse could bring misfortune not just to the individual but to entire communities. In this way, the seal served as both a spiritual instrument and a moral compass, guiding priests in their role as guardians of both knowledge and civilization. The seal's influence extended into the social and political fabric of Olmec life. Priests held authority not only in ritual spaces but also in governance, education, and community guidance. Their knowledge of cosmic cycles, environmental patterns, and ritual precision lent them legitimacy, while the secrecy surrounding the blood seal amplified their mystique. Ordinary citizens may have seen only glimpses of ceremonies or symbols, yet the presence of an unseen, sacred power shaped daily life. This integration of spiritual, social, and cosmic systems reflects a civilization deeply attuned to balance, strategy, and long-term sustainability. Even today, fragments of the Olmec world hint at the seal's enduring influence. Monumental heads, stele, and ceremonial platforms reveal patterns of alignment and design that suggest careful planning, observation, and ritual strategy. Archaeologists continue to puzzle over these alignments, speculating on their purpose and the secrets they encode. The blood seal remains elusive, hidden in the shadows of history, yet its presence is felt in the precision, scale, and spiritual intensity of Olmec architecture and ceremonial practice. It is a reminder that true power is often invisible, accessible only to those prepared to understand its complexity and responsibility. The seal also represented a bridge between the material and spiritual. While rituals involved tangible actions, blood offerings, chants, and aligned movements, they were intended to generate intangible effects, connecting human devotion with cosmic forces. The Olmecs understood that influence could be exerted through discipline, intention, and ceremony, not merely through brute strength or political power. The blood seal was the ultimate embodiment of this principle, a conduit through which the physical and metaphysical intersected, shaping the civilization's destiny in subtle but profound ways. Legends suggest that the seal's guardianship was continuous and adaptive. Priests may have relocated it as circumstances required, ensuring that its power remained protected from environmental, political, or human threats. This adaptability reflects a sophisticated understanding of both human behavior and natural forces. It also emphasizes the Olmec's commitment to preserving the sacred, prioritizing the seal's integrity above personal ambition, convenience, or temporal gain. Guardianship was not a privilege. It was a lifelong responsibility, one that demanded vigilance, wisdom, and courage. In the end, the blood seal symbolizes the Olmec's mastery of secrecy, ritual, and human potential. It was not simply an object but a principle, a tool, and a teacher, guiding those who approached it with devotion, discipline, and humility. Its power lay in its integration with the landscape, the cosmos, and the human psyche, demonstrating a civilization capable of weaving complex systems of influence, belief, and responsibility. Even as the physical evidence has been eroded by time and nature, the story of the seal endures, a testament to the vision, wisdom, and devotion of its guardians. To witness or imagine the blood seal is to confront the profound intersection of fear, reverence, and curiosity. It challenges our understanding of power, morality, and human capability, suggesting that some secrets are too potent to be approached lightly. The Olmecs understood this, building a system of protection, ritual, and observation that has allowed the seal's influence to resonate across millennia. Its story is both a mystery and a guide, inviting reflection on the delicate balance between knowledge and responsibility, and the enduring legacy of a civilization that mastered both. The Olmec priests were more than keepers of the blood seal. They were orchestrators of human perception, manipulators of belief, and masters of psychological influence. Their authority was rooted not only in spiritual knowledge but in an intricate understanding of human behavior. Ordinary citizens, observing the rituals from a distance, saw awe-inspiring spectacles. Torchlight flickering against massive stone heads, the rhythmic beat of drums resonating through ceremonial plazas, and the hypnotic spiral of incense curling toward the heavens. Yet, these performances were more than ceremonial. They were a carefully constructed narrative, designed to instill reverence, obedience, and a sense of the sacred. Within the cloistered walls of the priesthood, the stakes were far higher. The blood seal demanded absolute discretion and devotion, and its guardians were trained to discern the faintest signs of doubt, ambition, or fear in themselves and others. Apprentices underwent tests that pushed them to the limits of physical endurance, mental acuity, and spiritual perception. They were taught to interpret shadows, listen to the whispers of the wind, and perceive patterns invisible to ordinary eyes. These exercises were not mere discipline. They were preparation for moments when precision, intuition, and unwavering focus could mean the difference between protection and catastrophe. The priests' rituals were multilayered and meticulously structured. Each element, chant, gesture, offering, and alignment, was calibrated to harmonize human intention with cosmic forces. Blood offerings, often minimal yet potent, activated spiritual resonance within the seal. Incense, fire, and water were choreographed to direct energy and attention, creating a nexus where human action met divine law. The seal itself, though unseen by the general populace, acted as the epicenter of this intricate web, absorbing, amplifying, and channeling devotion into effects that shaped the physical, social, and spiritual worlds. Guardianship was as much psychological as it was physical. The priests were taught to maintain clarity in the face of overwhelming stimuli, to manage fear, awe, and temptation with equal skill. Legends tell of apprentices who faltered, overwhelmed by visions or the sheer weight of responsibility, unable to navigate the seal's influence. These failures were instructive, reinforcing the principle that mastery of the blood seal required not only knowledge but emotional and moral discipline. Only those who demonstrated unwavering composure, humility, and dedication could be entrusted with its proximity. The blood seal was also a tool of continuity. Its rituals encoded knowledge, ethical principles, and societal rules, ensuring that successive generations of priests inherited not only technique but wisdom. The seal's presence was a reminder of the responsibilities inherent in power, to act with restraint, to prioritize the collective good, and to honor the covenant between human and divine. In this way, the Olmecs maintained stability and order, safeguarding both spiritual and societal equilibrium. The seal was not merely an object, it was the foundation of a moral and cosmic framework. The influence of the blood seal extended into the natural world. Priests believed it could harmonize the cycles of rivers, regulate the fertility of the land, and even affect the behaviors of animals. Observing these effects required acute attention, years of apprenticeship, and a capacity for interpreting subtle signs. The priest's expertise was both practical and mystical. They understood environmental patterns, seasonal changes, and ecological balance, but they also perceived these forces as spiritual currents to be navigated with precision and reverence. The seal was their tool for bridging human intention with natural law. Symbolism played a critical role in the seal's guardianship. Jaguars, serpents, and other sacred animals appeared in carvings, masks, and ceremonial attire, representing strength, cunning, and the fluidity between worlds. Celestial symbols aligned with the positions of stars and the movement of the sun, reinforcing the connection between ritual and cosmic order. Each gesture and placement in a ceremony carried layers of meaning, guiding the priest's actions and serving as a safeguard against error. The seal's power was inseparable from its context. Its influence was realized through a symphony of symbols, ritual, and alignment. Education for priests was rigorous, blending mathematics, astronomy, ethics, and spiritual practice. They learned to calculate alignments, predict celestial events, and interpret patterns in nature. These skills were not merely theoretical, they were essential for the practical execution of rituals involving the blood seal. Mistakes could disrupt balance, cause misfortune, or undermine social stability. Apprentices trained for years to internalize both technical precision and spiritual attunement, ensuring that they could act decisively and wisely in moments when the seal's influence was at its most potent. Even for the uninitiated, the seal's presence shaped society. Ordinary Olmecs witnessed ceremonies that evoked awe, fear, and respect, reinforcing the authority of the priesthood. The rituals, visible only in part, suggested a power that extended beyond comprehension. The blood seal was a silent force, influencing behavior, social cohesion, and environmental management, while remaining hidden from direct observation. This duality, powerful yet concealed, ensured its protection and magnified its mystique, reinforcing both spiritual and societal order. Legends passed down through generations emphasized the seal's transformative potential. Priests who approached it with proper preparation reported visions, heightened perception, and insight into patterns that shaped the natural and human worlds. These experiences were interpreted as confirmation of the seal's potency and as guidance for future rituals. Those who misused it, however, suffered consequences ranging from psychological collapse to social ostracization or death. This duality underscored a fundamental principle: power without discipline and ethical grounding is dangerous. The blood seal was, in essence, a nexus of mastery. It demanded technical skill, spiritual attunement, moral integrity, and psychological resilience. Its guardianship required continuous vigilance, adaptability, and wisdom, for both natural and human circumstances could shift unpredictably. The seal's preservation was a testament to the Olmec's understanding of human nature, societal dynamics, and cosmic order. It represented the culmination of centuries of observation, ritual innovation, and devotion, a singular object around which the fate of a civilization could pivot. Even today, echoes of the seal's influence persist in the remnants of Olmec cities, in the alignment of monuments, and in the symbolic patterns etched into stone. Archaeologists and scholars continue to puzzle over these designs, speculating on their purpose, significance, and connection to the blood seal. Though its exact form and location remain hidden, its legacy endures, a reminder that true power often lies in the interplay of knowledge, devotion, and restraint. The Olmecs understood that some secrets are too potent to be fully revealed. They require guardianship, discipline, and reverence, ensuring that the balance of human, spiritual, and natural forces remains intact. The blood seal, though small and unseen, serves as a symbol of the Olmec's profound sophistication. It represents a civilization capable of weaving ritual, observation, ethics, and cosmic alignment into a single, enduring system. Its guardians were more than priests. They were scholars, strategists, and spiritual sentinels. Its influence extended across generations, shaping not only the immediate ritual space, but the entire social, environmental, and spiritual framework of Olmec life. In preserving the seal, the priests preserved the delicate equilibrium of their world, a lesson in power, responsibility, and the eternal tension between secrecy and revelation. In confronting the blood seal, conceptually or historically, we are confronted not only with an object of power but with the principles it embodies: devotion, restraint, precision, and insight. Its story challenges modern understanding, urging reflection on the limits of knowledge, the responsibilities that accompany influence, and the intricate dance between human intention and cosmic law. The Olmecs, through the guardianship of the seal, left a legacy that resonates across time, a silent testament to the enduring complexity of civilization, faith, and the mysteries that shape both. The Olmec priests were custodians not only of objects but of knowledge, a legacy that extended beyond stone and ritual into the very essence of human perception. They understood that secrecy was a tool, a form of protection, and a method of transmitting wisdom across generations. The blood seal, central to their practice, was a keystone in this system. Its power was not only physical or symbolic, it was an experiential force, activated through devotion, discipline, and precise ritual. To approach it unprepared was to risk physical, psychological, and spiritual peril, a test that could not be bypassed or faked. The apprentices who trained under the priests faced challenges that would have seemed insurmountable to ordinary humans. Their training involved long periods of isolation, meditation, and observation, designed to heighten sensitivity to subtle cues in the natural and spiritual worlds. They were taught to perceive the flow of energy, the alignment of the stars, and the rhythms of rivers and wind as integral components of ritual. These exercises were meant to cultivate an intuitive understanding of the forces at play, ensuring that when they finally confronted the blood seal, they could act with precision, insight, and reverence. The rituals themselves were complex orchestrations, blending movement, sound, and material offerings into a single, flowing performance. Torches flickered across carved symbols, revealing details that changed with angle and light, while smoke from burning incense spiraled upward, carrying prayers and intention. Chanting echoed through stone chambers, the vibrations thought to interact with the seal's spiritual resonance. Even the simplest gestures, raising a hand, placing a stone, drawing a line in the sand, were deliberate acts, components of a system in which the physical and metaphysical were inseparably intertwined. The blood seal was the center of this system, absorbing, amplifying, and redistributing the collective energy of human devotion. The priest's guardianship required moral as well as technical mastery. The blood seal's power was immense, and it demanded integrity, restraint, and unwavering focus. Legends recount that those who approached it with selfish intent, greed, or ambition were punished, not merely by human authority, but by the very forces the seal mediated. Madness, physical collapse, or even death could follow a misstep, reinforcing the lesson that the sacred was not to be trifled with. The seal demanded respect, humility, and an alignment of will and purpose with the cosmic order. Symbolism was a cornerstone of this system. Animals, celestial patterns, and abstract forms appeared throughout ritual spaces, carvings, and ceremonial attire. Jaguars, serpents, and birds represented strength, cunning, and spiritual transcendence, while stars and planetary alignments reflected the cycles of time and the broader cosmos. Each symbol functioned as a guide, a mnemonic, and a safeguard, instructing the priest on proper behavior, ritual sequence, and ethical responsibility. The blood seal was embedded within this symbolic universe, a fulcrum around which meaning, energy, and moral guidance converged. Apprentices also learned the mathematics and astronomy underlying the rituals. Alignments with celestial bodies were not coincidental but meticulously calculated. The priests tracked the movement of stars and planets over decades, predicting eclipses, solstices, and other critical events. These observations informed the timing of rituals, ensuring that human intention aligned with cosmic forces. The blood seal acted as a nexus in this process, focusing and amplifying the power of well-timed human action. Errors in calculation were not merely academic, they could have profound spiritual and social consequences. Guardianship extended beyond the ceremonial. The priests were advisors, educators, and societal stabilizers, using their knowledge to guide communities in matters of agriculture, water management, and civic planning. The blood seal reinforced this authority, its unseen influence shaping perceptions and behavior. Common people might glimpse fragments of ceremony, witness the alignment of monuments, or see symbols carved into stone, yet the seal's true significance remained hidden. Its power was amplified by what was not seen, a principle the priests understood instinctively. The physical concealment of the seal was as sophisticated as its symbolic and ritual significance. It may have been housed in labyrinthine chambers, hidden caves, or elevated platforms, accessible only through precise sequences of action and understanding. Some accounts suggest the seal was moved periodically, ensuring that its location could never be discovered by outsiders or misused by those unprepared for its power. The combination of physical, symbolic, and ritual concealment ensured that the seal remained protected across generations, a living system of defense created by both human ingenuity and spiritual insight. The seal also functioned as a conduit for transformation. Priests reported heightened perception, visions, and profound understanding during interaction with it. These experiences were both personal and instructional, revealing patterns in nature, human behavior, and cosmic cycles that guided future rituals. The transformative power of the seal reinforced the idea that mastery was holistic, requiring intellectual rigor, spiritual discipline, moral integrity, and psychological resilience. The lessons learned from the seal were not abstract. They shaped the very functioning of Olmec civilization. Even as centuries passed, the legacy of the blood seal endured. Ceremonial centers, monumental heads, and ritual spaces continue to reveal the sophistication of Olmec engineering, observation, and symbolic encoding. Archaeologists puzzle over alignments, carvings, and artifacts, speculating on the secrets they may conceal. The seal itself remains hidden, yet its influence persists in the precision, harmony, and spiritual resonance evident across the surviving remnants of Olmec culture. It is a reminder that some mysteries are enduring, their significance revealed not through direct observation, but through the patterns and principles they leave behind. The priests' understanding of human psychology was as important as their technical knowledge. They cultivated focus, patience, and awareness in themselves and in their apprentices. They recognized that fear, greed, or ego could disrupt the delicate balance of ritual. Discipline and devotion were therefore not merely spiritual virtues but practical necessities, ensuring that the blood seal's power was harnessed responsibly. Those who failed the rigorous training were often removed from contact, their path redirected to prevent harm to the sacred trust. Ultimately, the blood seal represents the Olmec's mastery of complexity, secrecy, and human potential. It was a tool, a teacher, and a test integrating astronomy, ritual, ethics, psychology, and environmental observation into a single, enduring system. Its guardians were more than priests, they were philosophers, strategists, and spiritual sentinels. The seal shaped society, stabilized natural and social systems, and transmitted wisdom across generations. Its presence was subtle but absolute, a silent force linking human intention with cosmic order. Even in the ruins of Olmec civilization, the seal's legacy remains palpable. Its influence is encoded in the alignment of monuments, the choreography of ceremonial spaces, and the symbolic language carved into stone. Scholars and explorers continue to uncover fragments of understanding, each discovery a hint at the profound sophistication of the Olmec system of guardianship. The blood seal may remain hidden, but its imprint endures, a testament to the vision, intelligence, and devotion of a civilization that understood power, responsibility, and the mysteries of the universe. To consider the blood seal is to confront the intersection of knowledge, devotion, and restraint. It challenges our understanding of human potential, morality, and the subtle forces that shape civilization. Its guardianship required mastery of body, mind, and spirit, a testament to the Olmec's insight into the delicate balance between secrecy and revelation. And though its physical form may never be recovered, its story resonates across centuries, urging reflection on the enduring tension between power and responsibility, seen and unseen, human and divine. The blood seal was more than a symbol of divine power. It was a mirror of human intention, reflecting both the highest aspirations and the darkest impulses. For the Olmec priests, it demanded not only devotion but the mastery of self. The challenges of guardianship were relentless. One misstep, one lapse in focus, could unleash consequences far beyond the ceremonial chamber. Apprentices were taught to confront their own fears, desires, and weaknesses, knowing that the seal's power would amplify whatever they brought before it. The process of becoming a true guardian was as much a journey inward as it was a ritual engagement with the sacred. Rituals involving the seal were multi-layered, blending sound, movement, and symbolic offerings into a precise choreography. Drums pounded to mark temporal rhythm, while chants resonated through stone chambers, aligning vibration with intention. Torchlight danced across walls etched with jaguar motifs, serpents, and abstract glyphs, casting shadows that shifted with the performer's movements. Every gesture was deliberate. The raising of a hand, the placing of a stone, the careful spill of blood, all coordinated to focus energy and intention toward the seal. It was a living performance, a nexus where human, natural, and cosmic forces converged. The priest's training emphasized acute observation. They learned to read the language of the environment. The wind's direction, the patterns of clouds, the flow of rivers, and the alignment of celestial bodies all conveyed critical information for ritual timing and precision. Apprentices were instructed to recognize subtle omens, from the sudden appearance of a bird to the shifting of sunlight through a cave entrance. Each detail could inform the proper handling of the blood seal, ensuring that ritual and intention aligned perfectly with cosmic law. Mistakes were not tolerated lightly. The consequences of error could extend from the immediate ritual to the broader community. Guardianship of the seal demanded moral discipline as well. The blood seal's influence could magnify both virtue and vice. A priest acting with humility, focus, and reverence could channel its power for the benefit of the community, harmonizing human action with natural and spiritual law. Conversely, ambition, fear, or desire could twist the seal's energy, with consequences ranging from illness and famine to social unrest. Oral traditions recount tales of those who faltered, overwhelmed by pride or greed, their minds shattered or bodies claimed by unseen forces. These stories were warnings, lessons in restraint and the necessity of alignment between intention and action. Symbolism was crucial in maintaining the seal's integrity. Jaguars, serpents, birds, and other sacred creatures appeared throughout ceremonial attire, carvings, and ritual spaces, each chosen for its spiritual resonance. Celestial alignments were mirrored in architectural features, creating a layered system where human action, natural forces, and cosmic cycles intersected. The blood seal itself was situated within this symbolic web, a focal point where these forces could converge and be guided by disciplined intention. Its power was realized through the orchestration of these multiple layers, a fusion of intellect, devotion, and observation. The seal also served as a conduit for knowledge. Priests reported visions, heightened perception, and insights into natural and human patterns during their interaction with it. These experiences were not random. They informed ritual, social governance, and environmental management. Observing the seal's influence allowed the priests to make decisions with extraordinary foresight, predicting seasons, understanding animal behavior, and guiding societal activity. It was both a spiritual and practical instrument, a fusion of philosophy, science, and sacred authority. Training for guardianship was exhaustive. Initiates endured months or years of preparation, including fasting, meditation, and isolation, designed to sharpen perception and strengthen psychological resilience. Exercises were intended to simulate the pressures of approaching the seal, teaching apprentices to maintain clarity and composure under intense spiritual and emotional stress. Only those who demonstrated consistent discipline, humility, and focus were allowed to approach the blood seal, ensuring that its power would be wielded responsibly. This rigorous preparation reinforced the seal's role as a test of human capability as much as a sacred object. The seal's concealment was equally meticulous. It was hidden within labyrinthine chambers, caves, or ceremonial centers, protected by both physical barriers and ritual knowledge. Access was controlled through sequences of ritual, observation, and symbolic interpretation, preventing inadvertent contact by those unprepared for its power. Some accounts suggest that the seal was periodically relocated, adding an additional layer of security. These measures ensured that the blood seal's influence remained potent and uncorrupted, safeguarded by generations of disciplined guardians. Even for the uninitiated, the seal's presence shaped society. Public rituals, partially visible to common people, conveyed awe, authority, and the sense of connection to unseen forces. The torchlight, chanting, and symbolic actions hinted at a power beyond comprehension, reinforcing the priest's authority and the social cohesion of the community. The blood seal's influence, though indirect for the general populace, was profound. It molded perception, behavior, and belief, creating a culture deeply attuned to ritual, respect, and cosmic alignment. The blood seal's power extended into natural systems as well. Priests believed it could influence fertility, weather patterns, and the flow of rivers, connecting human intention with the environment. Observation and ritual were inseparable. The timing of ceremonies, the alignment of offerings, and the reading of omens were all coordinated to harmonize with natural forces. This integration of human action with environmental and cosmic law demonstrates a level of sophistication rarely attributed to early civilizations. The seal was not just a symbol, it was an instrument of equilibrium, a principle encoded in both ritual and observation. Legends recount that the seal could be transformative. Priests reported that interacting with it heightened awareness, enhanced intuition, and revealed connections between events, patterns, and natural cycles invisible to ordinary perception. This transformative potential extended beyond personal insight. It informed governance, environmental management, and societal planning. The blood seal was a nexus of insight, discipline, and power, bridging the human, spiritual, and natural worlds in a way that elevated the Olmec civilization above simple survival. Ultimately, the blood seal was a testament to the Olmec's understanding of the delicate interplay between secrecy, power, and responsibility. Its guardianship required technical skill, moral discipline, spiritual attunement, and psychological resilience. It shaped society, informed environmental management, and guided the spiritual life of a civilization long vanished, yet still echoing in stone, ritual, and myth. Its lessons resonate across time, challenging us to consider the responsibilities inherent in knowledge and the enduring power of disciplined intention. Even now, the blood seal remains an enigma. Archaeologists and historians continue to speculate on its form, function, and location. Yet its legacy is undeniable. A civilization that mastered the integration of human, natural, and cosmic forces, whose understanding of ritual, morality, and observation allowed them to wield power responsibly across generations. The seal embodies the principle that true mastery requires not just skill, but wisdom, restraint, and alignment with forces beyond ourselves. To imagine the blood seal is to confront the nexus of fear, reverence, and human potential. It challenges modern assumptions about early civilizations, demonstrating a sophistication in ritual, psychology, and cosmic awareness that continues to inspire awe. The Olmecs, through their guardianship, left a legacy that transcends time. A reminder that some secrets are not meant to be revealed lightly, that some power requires discipline, devotion, and respect, and that the greatest lessons of civilization are often encoded in what remains unseen. The Olmec civilization thrived not merely on agriculture, trade, or monumental architecture, but on a profound understanding of symbolism, ritual, and hidden knowledge. Central to this was the blood seal, an object whose presence anchored their spiritual and social universe. The seal was not simply an artifact. It was a living instrument, capable of translating human intention into cosmic effect. Its guardians, the priests, were trained to perceive the subtleties of this influence, to guide ritual with precision, and to interpret the natural and spiritual worlds as one continuous system. Their training, devotion, and discipline elevated them beyond ordinary human capacity, allowing them to manipulate patterns of energy, intention, and belief in ways both tangible and invisible. Approaching the seal was a journey in itself. Apprentices spent years observing, meditating, and performing smaller rituals to cultivate the focus and clarity necessary for the blood seal's influence. Fasting, isolation, and silent observation of nature were standard practices. They learned to discern patterns in the movement of stars, the cycles of the moon, and the behavior of rivers and wildlife. Every detail mattered. The direction of the wind, the shifting of sunlight through temple openings, and even the timing of animal activity could indicate the right moment to conduct a ritual or make an offering. This meticulous preparation ensured that the seal's power could be activated safely and effectively, creating a bridge between human devotion and cosmic order. The rituals themselves were immersive spectacles, combining multiple sensory elements to produce a profound psychological and spiritual effect. Torchlight flickered across monumental heads and carved altars, casting moving shadows that amplified the sense of otherworldly presence. Incense swirled upward in intricate patterns, carrying prayers and symbolic energy into the air. Chants, repeated in precise rhythms, resonated through stone chambers and open plazas, creating vibrations that were believed to interact directly with the seal. Even subtle gestures, placing a stone, tracing a line in sand, or offering a drop of blood were meticulously orchestrated, each contributing to a larger energetic and symbolic framework. The blood seal served as the epicenter of this ritual universe, focusing, amplifying, and channeling devotion into real-world and spiritual consequences. The seal's guardianship demanded moral and ethical rigor. Power amplified the smallest human impulses. Arrogance, greed, or fear could distort ritual energy and bring harm to the community. Conversely, humility, discipline, and devotion could harmonize human action with the natural and spiritual world. Tales of priests who faltered before the seal, succumbing to desire or fear, were both warnings and moral lessons. Such individuals were said to experience collapse, physically, mentally, or spiritually, emphasizing that the seal was not a tool for ego or ambition but a responsibility of immense gravity. Each ritual, each engagement with the blood seal, was therefore an exercise in ethical mastery as much as spiritual practice. The symbolism surrounding the blood seal was dense and multilayered. Jaguars, serpents, and birds appeared in carvings, ceremonial masks, and ritual garments, each representing qualities such as strength, cunning, or the ability to navigate between the earthly and the divine. Celestial alignments were mirrored in temple architecture, ritual plazas, and the placement of monuments, creating a system where human action, natural observation, and cosmic forces were inseparable. The seal itself was situated at the confluence of these forces, absorbing, concentrating, and redirecting energy according to the precision, devotion, and insight of its guardian. Its influence was subtle yet pervasive, shaping society, environment, and belief. The educational system for priests was extensive. Apprentices were taught mathematics, astronomy, ritual procedure, and ethics. They learned to calculate solstices, equinoxes, and eclipses, to observe celestial patterns over decades, and to interpret their significance in both spiritual and practical terms. They were instructed in the art of reading nature, the movements of rivers, the changing behavior of animals, and the subtle shifts in weather. All these observations informed ritual, guiding when and how the seal should be engaged. Failure was not tolerated. Errors could disrupt cosmic balance and cause social or environmental upheaval. Only those who integrated intellectual, spiritual, and ethical disciplines could achieve full mastery. Guardianship extended beyond ritual performance. The priests were advisors, educators, and stewards of society. Their knowledge of cosmic cycles, agriculture, and social order allowed them to guide communities with extraordinary foresight. The blood seal reinforced their authority, its unseen presence creating a sense of awe and legitimacy. Even those who never saw it directly were affected by its influence. The timing of festivals, planting, and community activities reflected a harmonization of human action with cosmic and environmental rhythms, guided by the seal's power and the priest's mastery. The physical concealment of the blood seal was as deliberate as its symbolic significance. It may have been housed in hidden chambers, caves, or atop elevated platforms, accessible only through precise knowledge of ritual and observation. Some accounts suggest that the seal was occasionally relocated, ensuring its protection from intrusion, theft, or misuse. This combination of secrecy, ceremonial rigor, and environmental integration preserved its potency over generations, establishing a system of guardianship that combined human intelligence, spiritual discipline, and practical foresight. Even ordinary Olmecs were subtly shaped by the seal's presence. Public rituals offered glimpses of its power. Flames, shadows, chants, and movement evoked awe, reverence, and obedience. Citizens internalized the authority of the priesthood, the legitimacy of ritual, and the importance of cosmic alignment. The blood seal was a silent yet commanding force, influencing behavior, social cohesion, and belief systems while remaining hidden from direct view. Its power was amplified by the unseen, by the anticipation, and by the mystery surrounding it. Legends speak of the seal's transformative capabilities. Priests reported visions, enhanced perception, and insights into patterns that guided human, environmental, and cosmic activity. The blood seal was a lens, magnifying insight and understanding for those disciplined enough to approach it. Its guardianship was therefore both a privilege and a test. One could gain profound wisdom, but only through rigorous preparation, ethical integrity, and spiritual attunement. The seal's transformative power was both a source of instruction and a reminder of the delicate balance required to wield such influence. Ultimately, the blood seal embodies the Olmec's understanding of the integration of human, natural, and cosmic systems. Its guardianship required intellect, discipline, devotion, and ethical grounding. It influenced society, guided environmental practices, and transmitted wisdom across generations. Though its physical form has been lost to time, its legacy endures in the alignments of monuments, the sophistication of ritual spaces, and the symbolic language of Olmec civilization. It is a testament to a culture that recognized the power of secrecy, observation, and disciplined intention. Even today, the blood seal challenges our understanding of early civilizations. Its story reveals the depth of Olmec sophistication, from astronomical observation to moral philosophy, from ritual precision to societal planning. The seal's hidden power reminds us that true mastery is not always visible. It resides in systems, principles, and disciplined practice. The Olmec's guardianship demonstrates the capacity of human ingenuity and devotion to harness unseen forces responsibly, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire awe and reflection. To consider the blood seal is to confront the tension between knowledge and secrecy, power and responsibility. It challenges modern assumptions about human capability, revealing a civilization that integrated spiritual, social, and cosmic understanding into a cohesive system of governance and ritual. The seal, though hidden, continues to resonate across centuries, urging reflection on the responsibility that comes with knowledge, the ethics of influence, and the enduring power of disciplined human intention. The guardianship of the blood seal demanded an unparalleled level of focus, discipline, and foresight. For the Olmec priests, their duty was not merely to preserve an object, but to maintain the delicate balance between human society, the natural world, and the unseen forces they believed governed existence. The seal was the epicenter of this system, a nexus where ritual, intention, and cosmic alignment converged. Approaching it required years of preparation, a deep understanding of symbolism, and the ability to perceive connections invisible to the untrained eye. Every action was a test of character, wisdom, and perception, a reflection of the fundamental principle that knowledge without discipline could be catastrophic. Apprenticeship was a grueling and immersive process. Initiates were subjected to rigorous training that honed the mind, body, and spirit. They spent months, often years, in meditation, fasting, and observation of natural phenomena. The rhythms of rivers, the shifting patterns of clouds, the behaviors of animals, and the alignment of celestial bodies all carried critical significance. The apprentices were taught to read these subtle signs as messages from the cosmos, guiding the precise timing and execution of rituals involving the blood seal. Even minor errors could have far-reaching consequences, reinforcing the gravity of the guardian's responsibility. The rituals themselves were intricate, multi-sensory experiences designed to amplify human intention and align it with cosmic forces. Torches flickered across carved symbols, projecting dynamic shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. Incense spiraled upward, carrying prayers and spiritual energy into the air, while drums and chanting created vibrations thought to interact directly with the seal's power. Every gesture, from the careful placing of stones to the symbolic offering of blood, was choreographed to maintain a flow of energy, ensuring that the seal acted as a conduit rather than a destructive force. In this way, the priests transformed physical action into spiritual resonance, blending tangible and intangible forces into a cohesive ritual system. Guardianship demanded moral and psychological resilience. The blood seal's power was such that it could magnify both virtue and vice. Humility, focus, and ethical intent produced harmonious results, benefiting the community, the environment, and the spiritual order. Conversely, ambition, greed, or fear could distort the seal's influence, bringing misfortune to individuals and society alike. Oral traditions recount priests who faltered under the pressure, overwhelmed by visions or personal desire. These stories served as cautionary tales, reinforcing the ethical framework that was inseparable from the technical and spiritual mastery required to approach the seal. Symbolism was deeply embedded in every aspect of the seal's context. Jaguars, serpents, birds, and other sacred creatures were integrated into ceremonial attire, carvings, and ritual spaces, representing qualities such as strength, cunning, and spiritual agility. Celestial patterns were mirrored in architectural features, altar placements, and ritual alignments, creating a system in which human action, natural observation, and cosmic cycles were intricately interwoven. The blood seal was situated at the convergence of these forces, absorbing, concentrating, and redirecting energy according to the precision, intent, and insight of its guardian. Its power was not passive. It was responsive, activated by human devotion and understanding. Education for the priests was holistic, encompassing astronomy, mathematics, ethics, and ritual practice. They tracked the movement of stars and planets, calculated solstices and equinoxes, and interpreted their significance for ritual timing. They observed rivers, forests, and wildlife, noting patterns that could inform ceremonies or indicate cosmic alignment. Knowledge was both practical and spiritual. Mistakes were not tolerated, as even a small miscalculation could disrupt the intended flow of energy, with consequences for ritual efficacy, societal stability, or environmental balance. Only those who mastered these disciplines could be entrusted with the seal, ensuring that its power was wielded responsibly and wisely. The physical concealment of the blood seal was as sophisticated as its symbolic and ritual significance. Hidden in caves, labyrinthine chambers, or elevated platforms, its location was accessible only to those with precise ritual knowledge. Some accounts suggest that the seal was periodically relocated, adding another layer of protection against misuse or intrusion. These measures preserved the seal's potency over generations, ensuring that it remained a focal point of spiritual, environmental, and societal guidance, rather than an object vulnerable to exploitation or misunderstanding. Even ordinary citizens felt the seal's influence, though indirectly. Public rituals, partially observable from the periphery, created awe, reverence, and a heightened sense of order and legitimacy. Citizens internalized the authority of the priesthood and the sanctity of ritual without ever seeing the seal itself. Its power was amplified by its concealment, inspiring obedience and respect through suggestion and spectacle. The combination of visible ritual and unseen force created a social harmony rooted in both awe and trust, reinforcing the centrality of the blood seal in daily life and cultural identity. The transformative nature of the seal was central to its function. Priests reported enhanced perception, insights into natural and human patterns, and experiences that transcended ordinary consciousness. These experiences were not solely personal. They informed governance, agricultural planning, ceremonial timing, and societal guidance. The blood seal acted as both a teacher and a tool, translating human devotion and intention into insight and practical outcomes. Mastery required a fusion of intellect, morality, and spiritual attunement, demonstrating the Olmec's deep understanding of the interconnectedness of knowledge, power, and responsibility. Ultimately, the blood seal symbolizes the Olmec's mastery of complexity, integration, and foresight. It was not merely a ritual object. It was a system, a principle, and a guide. Its guardians were philosophers, strategists, and spiritual sentinels, overseeing the alignment of human, natural, and cosmic forces. Its influence extended across generations, shaping society, ritual practice, and environmental understanding. Even as its physical form has vanished, its legacy remains embedded in the alignments of monuments, the sophistication of ceremonial spaces, and the ethical and spiritual framework that sustained Olmec civilization. The blood seal also challenges modern perceptions of early civilizations. Its existence implies a sophistication in psychological insight, environmental observation, and ritual precision far beyond what is often assumed. The Olmecs understood that power requires discipline, that knowledge without ethics can be dangerous, and that human intention, carefully aligned, can resonate with forces beyond ordinary perception. The seal was both a testament to and a mechanism for cultivating this wisdom, guiding human action in alignment with cosmic and natural order. Even in contemporary ruins, echoes of the blood seal endure. Alignments of monuments, ceremonial centers, and symbolic carvings hint at the precision and foresight embedded in Olmec culture. Scholars continue to study these remnants, piecing together the principles and practices that allowed the blood seal to maintain its potency over centuries. Though its precise location and form remain unknown, the seal's influence resonates as a testament to the Olmec's understanding of secrecy, ritual, and the ethical exercise of power. To engage with the story of the blood seal is to confront a civilization that understood the delicate interplay of knowledge, morality, and cosmic alignment. Its guardianship required mastery of self, rigorous training, and unwavering devotion. Its lessons transcend time, urging reflection on the responsibilities inherent in power, the importance of ethical discipline, and the enduring mystery of forces that shape human and natural life alike. The seal remains a silent yet powerful emblem of the Olmec's vision, a civilization capable of blending ritual, observation, morality, and cosmic understanding into a cohesive and enduring system of wisdom. The blood seal's significance extended beyond ritual and social cohesion. It was a profound statement of the Olmec's understanding of time, memory, and legacy. To the priests, the seal was both a spiritual conduit and a record of accumulated wisdom, encoding generations of observation, insight, and ethical understanding. It was not a static object but an active presence within their civilization, guiding action, shaping perception, and influencing decision-making across decades. Guardianship of the seal was a responsibility that transcended individual lifetimes, binding priests to a lineage of knowledge, devotion, and cosmic alignment that demanded reverence, discipline, and unwavering focus. Training to become a guardian was both grueling and transformative. Apprentices endured isolation, meditation, fasting, and meticulous study of natural and celestial patterns. They observed the behavior of rivers, the flight of birds, the shifting of sunlight across sacred spaces, and the cycles of the moon and stars. Every detail was imbued with meaning. A missed pattern, a misread sign, could compromise the effectiveness of ritual or the alignment between human action and cosmic order. Through these trials, apprentices developed acute perception, mental resilience, and the ability to integrate knowledge across multiple domains: astronomy, ethics, environmental awareness, and spiritual practice. Rituals involving the blood seal were immersive, carefully orchestrated performances designed to unify physical action, symbolic meaning, and spiritual energy. The flickering torchlight revealed carvings that seemed to shift and come alive, casting moving shadows that enhanced the sense of presence and mystery. Incense rose in spiraling patterns, carrying prayers and devotion into the air, while drums and chants created vibrations believed to resonate with the seal's spiritual energy. Every gesture, placing stones, offering blood, tracing symbolic patterns, was intentional, contributing to a delicate flow of energy that harmonized human action with unseen cosmic forces. The seal served as the focal point, channeling devotion into tangible effects on both human and natural systems. The moral and psychological demands of guardianship were immense. The blood seal magnified human intention. Humility and focus produced harmony, while ambition, fear, or desire could destabilize its influence, bringing misfortune to individuals and communities. Stories of priests who faltered under the weight of responsibility are preserved in legend. Some succumbed to madness, others to sudden illness, and some disappeared without explanation. These cautionary tales emphasize that the seal was not merely an object of power, but a test of ethical integrity, mental fortitude, and spiritual attunement. Only those who approached with disciplined purpose could safely wield its influence. Symbolism was woven into every aspect of the seal's context. Sacred animals, jaguars, serpents, birds, appeared in carvings, ceremonial garments, and ritual spaces, embodying qualities such as strength, cunning, and spiritual fluidity. Celestial alignments were mirrored in architecture and altars, reinforcing the interconnectedness of human action, natural forces, and cosmic order. The blood seal existed at the center of this intricate web, a fulcrum of energy and meaning. Its power was realized through disciplined engagement with these symbolic layers, requiring guardians to harmonize intellect, devotion, and perception into a coherent practice that bridged worlds both visible and unseen. Education for priests was comprehensive. Apprentices learned mathematics, astronomy, ethics, ritual procedure, and environmental observation. They tracked celestial movements over decades, calculated the timing of solstices and eclipses, and interpreted these events in relation to human and natural systems. Observation extended to rivers, forests, and wildlife, identifying subtle patterns that could guide ritual action. Knowledge was both theoretical and practical, requiring integration of multiple disciplines to ensure that every action before the seal was precise, effective, and ethically grounded. Mistakes were considered dangerous. Mastery required the alignment of intellect, emotion, and spiritual insight. The concealment of the blood seal was as deliberate as its symbolic and ritual importance. Hidden in remote caves, labyrinthine chambers, or elevated platforms, its location was accessible only to those with complete understanding of ritual, alignment, and symbolic instruction. Some sources suggest the seal was moved periodically to protect it from intrusion, misuse, or accidental contact. This meticulous protection ensured that the seal remained a potent spiritual and social instrument rather than a vulnerable object, reinforcing the centrality of secrecy, discipline, and foresight in the Olmec system of guardianship. Even indirect exposure to the seal shaped Olmec society. Public ceremonies, partially observable from outside the inner sanctum, created awe, respect, and a sense of connection to powers beyond ordinary comprehension. Citizens internalized the authority of the priesthood and the sanctity of ritual without ever glimpsing the seal itself. The combination of visible spectacle and hidden force reinforced social cohesion, obedience, and reverence, illustrating the Olmec's understanding of how unseen power could influence human behavior and societal stability. The blood seal also functioned as a transformative instrument. Priests reported heightened perception, visions, and insights into natural and human patterns during interaction with it. These experiences were not purely personal. They informed governance, environmental management, and ceremonial planning. The seal acted as both teacher and tool, translating human devotion and focus into practical, tangible outcomes. Mastery of the seal required integration of intellect, morality, and spiritual awareness, revealing the Olmec's deep insight into the interconnectedness of human, natural, and cosmic systems. Ultimately, the blood seal represents the Olmec's profound understanding of complexity, integration, and foresight. It was not merely an artifact but a system, a principle, and a living guide. Its guardians were philosophers, strategists, and spiritual sentinels, overseeing the alignment of human, natural, and cosmic forces. Its influence shaped society, guided environmental practices, and transmitted wisdom across generations. Though its physical form has been lost to time, the seal's legacy endures in monument alignments, ceremonial architecture, and symbolic carvings, a testament to the civilization's mastery of secrecy, observation, and disciplined intention. Even in the ruins of Olmec sites, traces of the seal's influence remain. Scholars study alignments, symbols, and ritual spaces to reconstruct the principles of its guardianship. Though the seal itself remains hidden, its presence is felt in the precision, harmony, and sophistication evident in Olmec's ceremonial centers. The blood seal serves as a reminder that power and knowledge are inseparable from discipline and ethical responsibility, and that true mastery often lies not in what is seen, but in what is carefully preserved, observed, and respected across generations. To engage with the story of the blood seal is to confront the Olmec's nuanced understanding of secrecy, ritual, and cosmic alignment. Its guardianship demanded mastery of self, rigorous preparation, and unwavering devotion. Its influence reached across social, environmental, and spiritual domains, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire awe and reflection. The seal is a silent yet enduring emblem of the Olmec's vision, a civilization capable of integrating ritual, observation, ethics, and cosmic understanding into a coherent system of wisdom and power, preserved through generations of dedicated guardians. The blood seal was not merely a sacred object. It was the embodiment of the Olmec's vision of order, harmony, and responsibility. Its guardianship required an extraordinary balance of intellect, devotion, and ethical discipline. Priests understood that the seal's power amplified human intention. Every thought, every emotion, every gesture had the potential to ripple outward, affecting both the immediate environment and the broader society. For the apprentices, learning to navigate this invisible web of consequence was both humbling and transformative, a lesson that demanded patience, resilience, and self-awareness. The journey toward mastery was as much about understanding oneself as it was about understanding the cosmos. The training of a guardian was rigorous and unrelenting. Initiates were subjected to long periods of silence, meditation, and observation, learning to attune themselves to subtle signs in nature. The shifting of clouds, the patterns of river currents, and the migration of animals. They were trained to read the stars, calculating solstices, equinoxes, and eclipses to synchronize human action with cosmic rhythms. Even minor misinterpretations could have consequences, disrupting rituals or misaligning the flow of energy through the blood seal. The stakes were immense. Mastery required the complete integration of knowledge, discipline, and ethical clarity. Rituals involving the blood seal were immersive, multi-sensory performances that united body, mind, and spirit. Torches flickered across carved symbols, their moving shadows creating an almost living tableau of sacred imagery. Incense spiraled through the chambers, carrying prayers and spiritual energy into unseen realms. Drums and chanting created vibrational resonance, believed to interact directly with the seal, amplifying intention and directing energy toward desired outcomes. Every gesture, placing a stone, offering blood, tracing patterns, was deliberate, forming part of a complex choreography that fused symbolism, devotion, and cosmic alignment. The seal was the fulcrum of this ritual network, focusing, amplifying, and channeling the collective energy of the participants. Guardianship demanded moral and psychological fortitude. The blood seal magnified every impulse. Humility and reverence could harmonize communities and environments, while greed, fear, or arrogance could produce chaos. Oral traditions preserve stories of priests who faltered under its weight, overwhelmed by visions, desire, or fear. Some were said to collapse physically, mentally, or spiritually. Others vanished mysteriously, leaving behind only cautionary tales. These legends were not mere myth but ethical instruction, emphasizing that access to the seal's power was contingent on discipline, ethical clarity, and spiritual attunement. Symbolism permeated every aspect of the seal's environment. Jaguars, serpents, and birds appeared in ceremonial attire, carvings, and altars, each representing essential qualities: strength, cunning, spiritual agility. Celestial patterns were mirrored in architectural features and the alignment of ritual spaces, reinforcing the connection between human action, natural forces, and cosmic cycles. The blood seal itself occupied the center of this symbolic universe, absorbing and redistributing energy according to the precision, intent, and insight of its guardians. Its efficacy depended on the harmonization of multiple layers of perception, knowledge, and ethical engagement. Education for the priests was comprehensive, combining astronomy, mathematics, ethics, ritual practice, and environmental observation. They tracked the stars and planets over decades, calculated important celestial events, and interpreted their significance for ritual and societal governance. Observation extended to rivers, forests, and wildlife, enabling priests to anticipate environmental shifts and incorporate this knowledge into ceremonial timing. This holistic education ensured that every interaction with the seal was precise, ethical, and in alignment with natural and cosmic law. Mistakes were considered dangerous. Mastery required absolute integration of mind, body, and spirit. The concealment of the blood seal was as meticulous as its symbolic and ritual significance. Hidden in labyrinthine chambers, caves, or elevated platforms, its location was accessible only to those with complete mastery of ritual, observation, and symbolism. Some accounts suggest that the seal was periodically relocated to safeguard it from intrusion or misuse. These precautions ensured the seal remained a potent instrument of spiritual, environmental, and societal guidance rather than a mere object of curiosity or exploitation. Its secrecy amplified its influence, both within the priesthood and among the broader population. Even those who never directly encountered the seal were influenced by its presence. Public rituals, partially visible to outsiders, conveyed awe, authority, and the sense of connection to forces beyond comprehension. Citizens internalized the power and sanctity of the priesthood, creating social cohesion rooted in reverence and trust. The blood seal's indirect influence demonstrates the Olmec's understanding of the psychological and social dimensions of power. Its concealment made it more compelling, its authority more absolute, and its effects more pervasive. The seal also functioned as a transformative instrument for those who approached it. Priests reported visions, heightened perception, and insights into patterns connecting human, natural, and cosmic realms. These experiences were not solely personal. They informed governance, agriculture, and ceremonial planning. The blood seal acted as a teacher, translating devotion, observation, and ethical intent into practical outcomes. Mastery required the integration of knowledge, morality, and spiritual attunement, illustrating the Olmec's extraordinary insight into the interconnectedness of existence. Ultimately, the blood seal embodies the Olmec's understanding of the integration of knowledge, ethics, and cosmic order. It was more than an artifact. It was a system, a living framework for aligning human action with environmental and spiritual realities. Its guardians were philosophers, strategists, and spiritual sentinels, guiding society through both observation and ritual. Its influence extended across generations, shaping behavior, environmental management, and spiritual practice. Though the seal itself has vanished, its legacy is embedded in Olmec monuments, ceremonial spaces, and symbolic language, a testament to the sophistication and foresight of its creators. Even today, traces of the seal's influence endure in archaeological sites. Monument alignments, symbolic carvings, and ritual spaces suggest a level of precision, planning, and spiritual awareness that continues to astound researchers. Scholars speculate on the seal's function, location, and form, yet its influence is undeniable. It demonstrates that true mastery resides not in visibility, but in careful preservation, disciplined practice, and the ethical integration of knowledge and power. Engaging with the story of the blood seal is to confront the Olmec's nuanced grasp of secrecy, ritual, and human potential. Its guardianship demanded total self-mastery, rigorous preparation, and ethical clarity. Its influence shaped social, environmental, and spiritual systems, leaving a legacy that challenges modern assumptions about early civilizations. The seal is a silent yet enduring symbol of a culture capable of harmonizing ritual, observation, ethics, and cosmic understanding into a coherent system of wisdom and power. The blood seal's story is also a cautionary tale. It reminds us that power is inseparable from responsibility. Knowledge, observation, and ritual can yield extraordinary influence, but only when wielded with discipline and ethical awareness. The Olmec's mastery of the seal teaches that wisdom requires restraint, and that true insight demands integration of intellect, morality, and perception. Its legacy, though hidden in plain sight, endures as a testament to human potential and the enduring power of secrecy, discipline, and devotion. The blood seal's mysteries were not confined to the chambers of priests or the hidden recesses of Olmec temples. Its influence radiated outward, touching every aspect of the civilization, from agriculture to social hierarchy, from spiritual guidance to environmental stewardship. The seal was both a symbol and a tool, a point of convergence where human intention, natural law, and cosmic rhythm intersected. Guardianship required more than ritual skill. It demanded an understanding of how every action, word, and observation could resonate across the delicate web connecting society, nature, and the divine. Apprentices trained under extreme conditions designed to heighten perception and cultivate resilience. Fasting, meditation, isolation, and prolonged observation of natural phenomena were standard practices. The flight of birds, the behavior of rivers, the movement of celestial bodies, and even subtle shifts in wind and sunlight were all scrutinized for hidden messages. Each detail was significant, a piece of a complex puzzle that guided the precise timing and execution of rituals involving the blood seal. These preparatory exercises were grueling, but they forged priests capable of perceiving patterns invisible to ordinary eyes and acting with precision and discernment. The rituals themselves were awe-inspiring spectacles. Torches cast dynamic shadows across carved stone, making the jaguar, serpent, and bird motifs seem to pulse with life. Incense spiraled into the air, carrying prayers, devotion, and symbolic energy toward the unseen. Drums, chants, and vocal intonations created vibrations thought to resonate with the seal, amplifying human intention and directing it toward intended outcomes. Even the subtlest gesture, placing a ceremonial stone, tracing a symbolic pattern, offering blood, was orchestrated to maintain the flow of energy and ensure that the seal functioned as a conduit rather than a source of chaos. These ceremonies were more than performance. They were living laboratories of cosmic and social alignment. The moral dimension of guardianship was paramount. The blood seal magnified every human impulse, making humility, focus, and ethical clarity essential. Greed, fear, or ambition could distort the seal's energy, producing unforeseen consequences for individuals and communities. Oral traditions recount priests who faltered under the weight of responsibility, overwhelmed by desire, visions, or fear. Some were physically or mentally incapacitated. Others disappeared without explanation. These cautionary tales reinforced the principle that the seal's power was inseparable from ethical discipline, and that its mastery demanded more than skill. It required moral courage, self-awareness, and unwavering devotion. Symbolism permeated every aspect of the blood seal's ritual and context. Sacred animals, celestial alignments, architectural design, and ceremonial artifacts all functioned as layers of meaning, interwoven into a system of observation, ritual, and cosmic resonance. Jaguars represented strength and guardianship. Serpents embodied transformation and fluidity, while birds symbolized spiritual ascension and connection to the divine. Celestial patterns were mirrored in temple construction, altar placement, and monument orientation, aligning human activity with cosmic forces. The blood seal occupied the center of this network, absorbing, concentrating, and redistributing energy in a manner contingent upon the skill, devotion, and insight of its guardian. Education of the priests was holistic and lifelong. They mastered mathematics, astronomy, environmental observation, ritual theory, and ethical instruction. Apprentices learned to calculate eclipses, solstices, and planetary cycles, to observe river behavior, animal migration, and forest ecology, and to interpret these patterns in relation to ritual timing and societal governance. Knowledge was both theoretical and practical. Mistakes could disrupt the flow of energy, the timing of rituals, and even the social and environmental equilibrium. Mastery required integration of intellect, moral awareness, and spiritual perception, ensuring that every interaction with the blood seal was responsible, precise, and aligned with broader cosmic and societal order. The concealment of the blood seal was meticulous. Hidden in labyrinthine chambers, caves, or elevated platforms, its location was known only to fully trained priests. Some accounts suggest that the seal was periodically relocated to protect it from intrusion, misuse, or accidental contact. This secrecy was essential. The seal's potency depended on controlled access and disciplined engagement. The careful concealment also heightened its mystique, amplifying its authority and influence throughout Olmec society. Its power was both tangible and psychological, reinforced by the anticipation, secrecy, and awe it inspired. Even those who never saw the seal directly were profoundly influenced by it. Public rituals, partially observable from the periphery, created awe, respect, and a sense of connection to forces beyond ordinary comprehension. Citizens internalized the authority of the priesthood and the sacredness of ritual without ever glimpsing the seal itself. This combination of visible spectacle and hidden force created social cohesion, reinforced obedience, and cultivated reverence for the unseen. The blood seal's influence was as much psychological and cultural as it was spiritual, shaping the fabric of Olmec society through indirect perception and symbolic power. The transformative capacity of the seal was central to its function. Priests reported enhanced perception, visions, and insights into patterns linking human, natural, and cosmic systems. These experiences were not simply personal. They guided governance, agriculture, ceremonial planning, and environmental management. The seal functioned as both teacher and instrument, translating devotion, observation, and ethical clarity into tangible outcomes. Mastery required holistic integration of knowledge, morality, and spiritual attunement, reflecting the Olmec's profound understanding of the interconnectedness of all systems. Ultimately, the blood seal exemplifies the Olmec's sophistication in balancing power, knowledge, and responsibility. It was not a mere artifact but a living system, a nexus of human, natural, and cosmic alignment. Its guardians were philosophers, strategists, and spiritual leaders, mediating the flow of energy and intention through ritual, observation, and ethical engagement. The seal influenced generations, shaping society, guiding environmental stewardship, and preserving spiritual knowledge. Even though its physical form has been lost, the legacy of its influence endures in monuments, ceremonial spaces, and symbolic artifacts, a testament to the Olmec's foresight and mastery. Traces of the seal's influence remain visible in the archaeological record. Monument alignments, sacred plazas, and symbolic carvings suggest a level of planning, precision, and cosmic awareness that continues to astonish scholars. While the seal itself is hidden, its legacy is discernible in the coherence of ritual space, the sophistication of symbolic language, and the integration of natural and cosmic observation. These enduring traces serve as proof of a civilization that understood the ethical and practical dimensions of power, knowledge, and secrecy. To explore the blood seal is to confront the Olmec's deep understanding of secrecy, ritual, and human potential. Guardianship required total self-mastery, extensive preparation, and unwavering ethical discipline. Its influence touched social, environmental, and spiritual systems, leaving a legacy that challenges modern assumptions about early civilizations. The seal remains a silent yet enduring emblem of a society capable of harmonizing observation, ritual, morality, and cosmic alignment into a coherent and sophisticated system of governance, knowledge, and spiritual insight. The story of the blood seal also serves as a timeless reminder. Power without discipline, knowledge without ethical awareness, and intention without alignment can be destructive. The Olmec's guardianship demonstrates that true mastery requires restraint, integration, and moral courage. Even centuries later, the lessons of the blood seal endure, inspiring reflection on the responsibilities that accompany knowledge, the subtle forces that shape human society, and the unseen connections linking all aspects of existence. The Olmec's mastery over ritual, observation, and symbolism reached its pinnacle in the guardianship of the blood seal. Unlike ordinary artifacts, the seal was not merely decorative or ceremonial. It was a focal point of power, a conduit through which human intention, cosmic forces, and societal order intersected. Its significance extended beyond the temple walls, shaping the rhythms of daily life, agricultural cycles, governance, and spiritual practice. For the priests, the seal represented the ultimate responsibility to maintain balance, preserve knowledge, and safeguard the delicate alignment of all things. To engage with it was to step into a web of consequence that spanned the seen and unseen, the mundane and the divine. Apprenticeship under the priests was a crucible that tested every dimension of human capability. Initiates spent long periods in isolation, fasting, and meditation, learning to attune themselves to subtle signs in the natural world. They observed the flight of birds, the movement of rivers, and the migration of animals, noting patterns that might indicate auspicious timing or hidden disturbances in the cosmic order. Celestial bodies were tracked meticulously. The phases of the moon, the position of planets, eclipses, and solstices all held symbolic and practical significance. Even the smallest deviation in observation could disrupt ritual effectiveness, demonstrating the gravity of their training. The rituals centered on the blood seal were elaborate and immersive, designed to unite body, mind, and spirit in a synchronized act of devotion. Flickering torchlight cast shadows that seemed to animate the carvings of jaguars, serpents, and birds, giving them an almost lifelike presence. Incense spiraled into the air, carrying prayers and symbolic energy toward the seal, while chants and drums produced vibrations believed to interact directly with its spiritual essence. Each gesture, whether placing a stone, tracing a pattern, or offering blood, was orchestrated to maintain a flow of energy, ensuring that the seal acted as a conduit rather than a source of chaos. In these ceremonies, every motion, sound, and visual element contributed to a larger energetic and symbolic design. Ethical discipline was paramount for guardians of the blood seal. The seal magnified intention. Humility, focus, and devotion produced harmony, while fear, greed, or ambition could distort its power, producing unforeseen consequences. Stories abound of priests who faltered under its weight, overwhelmed by visions, desire, or psychological strain. Some were incapacitated. Others disappeared mysteriously. These cautionary tales were more than myth. They reinforced the principle that power without ethical awareness was dangerous, and that only those who combined intellect, discipline, and moral clarity could approach the seal safely. The blood seal was embedded in a rich tapestry of symbolism. Sacred animals, celestial alignments, architectural orientation, and ritual artifacts were all layered with meaning, forming a coherent system of observation, interpretation, and spiritual resonance. Jaguars symbolize strength and guardianship. Serpents, transformation and adaptability. Birds, the capacity to navigate between earthly and spiritual realms. Temples, altars, and ceremonial spaces were meticulously aligned to mirror celestial patterns, reinforcing the connection between human action and cosmic forces. The seal itself stood at the center of this symbolic network, absorbing and redistributing energy in accordance with the skill and devotion of its guardians. Priestly education was rigorous and multifaceted. Apprentices mastered astronomy, mathematics, ethics, environmental observation, and ritual procedure. They calculated eclipses, solstices, and planetary movements. They observed river behaviors, forest ecology, and animal patterns, and they interpreted these observations to guide ritual timing and societal decision-making. Knowledge was both theoretical and practical. Every interaction with the seal required integration of intellect, moral clarity, and spiritual perception. The stakes were high. Errors could disrupt ritual efficacy, misalign cosmic intention, and disturb social or environmental balance. Mastery demanded holistic integration of mind, body, and spirit. The concealment of the blood seal was deliberate and meticulous. It was hidden in labyrinthine chambers, caves, or elevated platforms, accessible only to fully trained priests. Some accounts suggest it was periodically relocated to protect against intrusion, misuse, or accidental exposure. Secrecy was essential not only for preservation but for amplifying the seal's authority. Its power depended on disciplined engagement. Only those who approached it with preparation, insight, and ethical clarity could channel its energy effectively. The combination of concealment, ritual, and discipline ensured that the seal's influence remained potent across generations. Even the broader society felt the seal's indirect influence. Public rituals, partially observable to citizens, created awe, reverence, and a sense of connection to forces beyond ordinary comprehension. The display of ritual, combined with the secrecy of the seal itself, reinforced the authority of the priesthood and the sanctity of ritual practice. Citizens internalized these lessons, cultivating obedience, respect, and a sense of alignment with natural and cosmic rhythms. The blood seal's unseen presence was as powerful socially as it was spiritually, shaping behavior, belief, and social cohesion without direct exposure. The transformative function of the seal extended to those who approached it. Priests reported heightened perception, visions, and insights linking human action, environmental patterns, and cosmic cycles. These experiences guided agricultural planning, governance, ceremonial timing, and environmental stewardship. The blood seal acted as both teacher and instrument, translating human focus, ethical intent, and devotion into practical outcomes. Mastery required integration of intellect, morality, and spiritual awareness, reflecting the Olmec's understanding of interconnected systems and the ethical use of power. Ultimately, the blood seal exemplifies the Olmec's understanding of complexity, foresight, and integration. It was not a mere object but a living system of guidance, influencing society, environment, and spiritual practice. Its guardians were philosophers, strategists, and spiritual leaders, mediating energy and intention through disciplined observation, ritual, and ethical engagement. Its influence spanned generations, leaving a legacy visible in the architecture, symbolic carvings, and ritual spaces of Olmec civilization. Even without the seal itself, its presence is tangible, a testament to a culture capable of harmonizing human, natural, and cosmic order. Traces of the seal's legacy remain in the archaeological record. Monument alignments, ceremonial plazas, and symbolic carvings suggest a civilization attuned to cosmic rhythms, environmental patterns, and the ethical exercise of power. While the seal itself remains hidden, its imprint is evident in the coherence of ritual design and the integration of natural observation into ceremonial and societal practice. These enduring traces demonstrate the Olmec's sophistication and the deliberate, disciplined management of knowledge and power. The story of the blood seal confronts us with the Olmec's mastery of secrecy, ritual, and responsibility. Its guardianship demanded mastery of self, extensive training, and unwavering ethical awareness. Its influence shaped social, environmental, and spiritual systems, leaving a legacy that challenges modern assumptions about early civilizations. The seal remains a silent yet enduring emblem of human potential, a civilization capable of integrating observation, ritual, morality, and cosmic understanding into a coherent system of wisdom and power. Finally, the blood seal reminds us of the delicate balance between knowledge, power, and responsibility. The Olmec's mastery demonstrates that true influence requires discipline, moral clarity, and ethical foresight. Its story endures as a lesson. Human intention, carefully cultivated and ethically aligned, can resonate far beyond what is immediately visible, shaping society, environment, and spiritual consciousness. The blood seal, though hidden for centuries, continues to speak across time, inspiring reflection on the responsibilities that accompany knowledge, the subtle forces shaping human civilization, and the unseen connections that bind all life together. The valley revealed itself slowly, as if deciding whether the intruders deserved to see its true form. At first it looked ordinary, a sweep of green under a quiet sky, but the deeper the team ventured, the more it became clear that this place followed rules different from the world outside. Sunlight bent at strange angles, shadows stretched slightly longer than their objects, and the air carried a stillness so absolute it felt constructed. Even the birds circled the perimeter but refused to cross into the heart of the valley. Their equipment malfunctioned long before they reached the first boundary marker. Compasses spun gently as if caught in water. GPS units froze, displaying coordinates that made no geographical sense. One of the researchers waved a hand through a patch of warm air that hovered in the middle of cool shade. Another felt a vibration through the ground, subtle but steady, like the last echo of something once alive. No one spoke it aloud yet, but they all understood. The valley wasn't just ancient, it was active. The first monolith rose from the earth with the precision of an engineered pillar. Carvings covered its surface, deep spirals and angled lines that caught the light in unnatural ways. When viewed from one side, the spiral appeared still. From another, it seemed to rotate inward, tightening like a vortex. Even the camera struggled to capture it. The image wavered, as if refusing translation. One researcher traced a finger along the groove and felt a faint hum, almost like the vibration of a distant drum. Past the monolith, the forest shifted into patterns too perfect to be accidental. Trees grew in arcs that subtly curved toward a central axis. Stones on the ground aligned like markers along a path. At first, the team joked that nature had become a mathematician here, but the smiles faded when they realized their own breath had fallen into rhythm with the surroundings. Slow, steady, identical. The valley wasn't threatening them. It was synchronizing them. Then they found the corridor of stones. 2 rows of basalt blocks placed in strict parallel, forming a path leading toward a narrow break in the hillside. Each block bore thin scratches arranged in repeating intervals. When the team passed between them, the air tightened around their bodies. Thoughts sharpened. Hearts steadied. One of them whispered, "It feels like we're being measured," and none of the others disagreed. Inside the cleft, the temperature dropped sharply. The walls narrowed into a dark passage where the stone glowed faintly with red veins, as though illuminated from within. They had seen red pigments at other Olmec sites, but this was different. The glow pulsed faintly, almost like breath. When one researcher placed a hand against it, the stone was cool, yet the light responded with a slight quickening, as though acknowledging their touch. The corridor opened into a chamber that was impossibly smooth, its floor laid with obsidian tiles arranged in a star-like pattern. Lights from their lanterns reflected in soft halos that seemed to drift across the surface rather than stay fixed. Carvings covered the walls in overlapping layers: jaguars, serpents, spiral maps, star symbols. The arrangement didn't follow decorative logic. It followed cycles. Some symbols represented eclipses, others solstices, others emotional states described in ancient myths. This room wasn't built for worship. It was built for alignment. At the center stood a circular platform carved with branching channels that led toward a shallow depression resembling a heart. It was not shaped for offerings. It was shaped for focus. One researcher leaned closer and felt a subtle pressure in the air, like standing near a speaker emitting a sound too low to hear but strong enough to feel. The sensation grew sharper with every step. The local guide, who had stayed silent until now, spoke softly. "This chamber," he said, "was known in village legends as the measuring room. It didn't judge morality the way people imagine. It judged intention. The Olmecs believed intention was a tangible energy, something that left a trace in the air, in movement, in breath. The seal," he said, "amplified that trace. If a seeker approached with greed or fear, the valley rejected them. If they approached with discipline and clarity, it opened paths." As he finished speaking, the instruments suddenly stabilized. The compasses pointed north. The lights steadied. The air eased its grip. Felt like permission, like the valley had completed its reading and, for now, allowed them to continue. The closer the expedition moved toward the inner precincts, the more the landscape felt engineered rather than natural. Trees grew in strangely symmetrical arcs, and the wind carried an almost rhythmic pulse, as if echoing from something beneath the ground. The team initially dismissed it as coincidence, but by the third day, even the most skeptical among them sensed a pattern. Birds avoided specific directions. Shadows at dusk bent slightly off angle. The environment felt as though it had memory. At the entrance of a vine-covered passageway, they discovered carvings unlike anything previously documented. Concentric spirals surrounded by jaguar faces, each spiral narrowing toward a small central point. These were not decorative. They resembled diagrams, almost like instructional glyphs. One researcher traced the grooves with her fingertips and felt a subtle warmth, as if the stone retained the echo of something once alive. Deeper inside, the architecture changed. The walls grew smoother, the ceilings lower, and the light behaved strangely, clinging to surfaces instead of dispersing. Sounds softened, as though absorbed before they could fully form. Every footstep felt heavier, every breath slightly restrained, as if the air was learning them as they moved. The team realized they had crossed a threshold, one created not to welcome but to assess. At the chamber's edge, they encountered a final barrier. A circular stone door with no seams, no hinges, only a faint symbol etched into its center. A blood red surrounded by a ring of tiny, razor-thin lines. It matched descriptions from early legends, the so-called pulse mark, believed to represent the seal's first heartbeat. No one touched it. No one dared. For the first time, the researchers understood that this place was not abandoned. It was waiting quietly, deliberately, as if deciding whether those who stood before it were worthy of what lay beyond. The night the priests sealed away the final chamber, the air inside the labyrinth felt heavier than stone. They moved with a quiet urgency, each step measured, each breath controlled, as if the walls themselves were listening. The blood seal, resting within its obsidian cradle, pulsed dimly like a sleeping heart. No flame touched it, yet it glowed with a muted red, spreading thin veins of light across the floor. The guardians believed this was a sign of transition, a shrinking of its influence as it entered a state of ritual dormancy. But they also feared it might be a warning. Outside, the world was shifting. Rivers changed course. Entire clans abandoned their settlements. Rumors spread of foreign groups approaching, drawn by strange omens in the sky. To the priests, this instability was exactly why the seal had to be hidden. Not destroyed, not abandoned, but withdrawn from human hands until the world was ready again. Inside the chamber, the final rites were whispered rather than spoken. The eldest priest, his voice trembling with both age and responsibility, placed his hand upon the seal's surface. For a moment he felt something like a pulse, or perhaps an echo of one. It was enough to make him withdraw his hand quickly, but not before a thin line of warmth passed into his palm. Once the stone door slid shut, darkness swallowed the chamber. Only the faint red glow remained, beating softly against the void. The guardians stepped away, sealing the entrance with dust, vines, and time. They left no markers, no inscriptions, no trace for seekers. The blood seal was not lost. It was deliberately forgotten, buried inside a silence only the disciplined could interpret. Centuries later, long after the Olmecs had faded, the memory of the blood seal survived like a half-remembered dream. Travelers spoke of forbidden hills where compasses spun in circles, of caves where faint red reflections appeared even without sunlight. Local shamans repeated fragments of old stories. A heart of stone that once guided kings, a flame that fed on intention, a power too precise for untrained minds. It was not historians who first rediscovered traces of the seal's existence. It was treasure seekers. Drawn by rumors, they hacked through forests and pried open stones that had remained sealed for generations. Most found nothing. A few found something they could not explain. Spiral carvings that shimmered faintly at dusk, fragments of polished obsidian that felt warm even when held in cold rain, chambers where sound moved strangely, as though the walls had their own breath. When these objects reached scholars, a new puzzle emerged. The carvings were unmistakably Olmec, yet the geometric precision suggested knowledge far more advanced than previously documented. Astronomers noted alignments embedded within the patterns, alignments tied to eclipses, planetary cycles, and stellar events rare enough to imply deliberate encoding. The more researchers studied, the more they realized the Olmecs had not merely created art. They had created instructions. The stories grew more unsettling when archaeologists reported emotional disturbances near certain sites. Sudden calmness, unexplained anxiety, vivid dreams, or overwhelming clarity. Scientists dismissed it as environmental suggestion. But those familiar with the old legends whispered a different explanation. The seal had never fully gone dormant. It was still responding, subtly, quietly, to human presence, as though waiting for someone capable of reading what the Olmecs had left behind. The deeper modern researchers dug, the clearer it became that the Olmecs had created a system, not just an artifact. The blood seal wasn't a single object. It was the nucleus of a network. Temples, monoliths, alignments, and symbols all radiated outward from it, like veins branching from a heart. The seal appeared to amplify intention, but the surrounding structures seemed designed to stabilize that amplification, preventing it from overwhelming the practitioner or the environment. A small team of anthropologists began mapping these clusters and noticed something extraordinary. The sites formed a pattern resembling a celestial constellation visible only during specific centuries. This wasn't coincidence, it was synchronization. The Olmecs had designed their sacred geography to match the sky, turning the landscape into a mirror of the heavens. And at the center of this mirrored map was the hidden heart, the blood seal. What puzzled scholars most was the ethical dimension. In carvings, Priests were shown not as masters of the seal but as servants of it. Every gesture, every posture emphasized humility. The power of the seal, it seemed, didn't belong to individuals. It belonged to alignment between person, place, time, and intention. Misalignment led to turmoil. Proper alignment brought clarity. This explained the warnings etched into cave entrances. Not threats, but reminders. The seal responded to the human heart as much as to the human mind. Ambition, fear, selfishness, they were distortions. Only those who could steady themselves inwardly could engage with what the seal truly represented. To modern scholars, this realization was both thrilling and unsettling. The Olmecs had built something more advanced than technology, more delicate than ritual. They had built a system of consciousness. In the end, the true power of the blood seal might not lie in what it did, but in what it revealed about the people who made it. The Olmecs understood something modern societies often overlook. Power without discipline becomes destruction. Knowledge without humility becomes blindness. The seal was their answer to both. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a tool. It was a mirror, one that reflected intention with precision. Legends say that before the seal was hidden, a final ceremony was performed. Not to awaken it, but to silence it. The priests gathered in a circle, each carrying a small obsidian blade. They pressed the blades to their palms, letting a single drop of blood fall onto the seal. As the drops touched its surface, the red glow dimmed, then faded entirely, as if entering a deep sleep. From that moment onward, the seal belonged to time. Today, its resting place remains unknown. Every theory contradicts the next. Every expedition ends in uncertainty. But perhaps this ambiguity is intentional. The seal wasn't meant to be found by those seeking treasure or power. It was meant to be found by those seeking alignment, ethical, emotional, spiritual. That is the quiet brilliance of the Olmecs. They didn't hide the seal to protect themselves. They hid it to protect whoever might find it next. And somewhere, deep beneath roots and rivers, beneath centuries of silence, the heart of stone still waits. Not asleep, but listening.